Hello, everyone. Let's make sure everything's working. We are going. Let me know if I cannot be heard or whatever the shit may be. I'm going to turn this music down a little bit, but we're going to keep it going. So, for anyone not aware, made it a little low, little low. There we go. So the music that I'm playing in the background, as you saw there, that is from an artist called Dimrain47. He is, I don't know what he's up to now, but he created for a number of years a lot of what he dubbed speed trance. And that's what this music is. I discovered him randomly actually watching a WoW video of 5 Moomkins in PvP, like back in 2008, playing a song of his called Surface, which we're probably going to hear during stream tonight. And when I decided to get into video and content creation, one of the things that I did is I reached out to him and I said, hey man, like, I love your music. Can I use it as, like, for my videos and stuff that I make on World of Warcraft? And he gave me his blessing. And as far as I know, still checks in every now and then. We haven't talked in a while because we've both been busy. But yeah, so that's cool. I get, I've got the blessing of a guy that I respect. I love his work. Everything going on. So today the plan is, so I wasn't actually going to stream like this week. I figured I'd take another week off and then just come back for season 4 and hit hard. Because I'm actually excited for season 4. I might be the only person that is, particularly for the Mythic Plus dungeon pool. Like, I'm excited to get back into all 8 Dragonflight dungeons, particularly with a bunch of the changes that they've made. The raids I'm not so excited about. Like, that's kind of whatever. And then the time walking pandemonium thing with Mist Remix is like interesting. I've heard a lot of people say it's really cool. I might take advantage of it to level some alts that I want to keep on Thunderhorn instead of paying money to transfer them. But mainly, like, I was maybe going to make a few videos, but I decided just to go ahead and stream tonight because I'm going to eventually take this VOD and cut it all up into different videos for my YouTube channel. So I'm live on both YouTube and Twitch right now. Go from there. So today we're going to be mostly just reacting to all of the WoW news that was released today, because a ton of it was released today. And yeah, Alpha is here officially. War Within Alpha is here. Obviously, you had a bunch of content creators that got pulled into the kind of NDA version of Alpha where they couldn't disclose anything, but they were playing it, messing around with it, because a ton of them had videos and content released like hours within the announcement about all aspects of the game. So shout outs to those guys. I am not obviously part of that. Otherwise I would have taken this week off from work and probably spent a lot of time doing a bunch of stuff. But what I'm going to do today is go over basically most of the important news. I'm probably not going to get to all of it, but we're going to keep an eye on the things that seem the most interesting to me, and I'm going to kind of group them together. We're going to start with Mythic Plus stuff because, as you can see this year, the Season 1 dungeon rotation. Spoiler, I hate this. And I'll go off here in a little bit as to why. So I'm going to group everything dungeons together, and then obviously there's some class stuff. Obviously, Monk got announced. Basically, they're getting their trees reworked. Druid did as well, so I want to take a look at both of those and see if, like, what possibility we have. New hero talent trees got released. Monk was included in that, so we're going to go over that tonight, and then just talk about some of the things that I think are pretty cool and pretty interesting from some of the other announcements. So we're going to be in for a long haul. This will be a long stream. Well, long for me because I only stream generally about 3 hours at a time. But I might go a little bit longer tonight, and then if anyone is around still and cool, I might do more Bear Keys, because I'm trying to gear the Druid up so that I can have it ready to go for Season 4, where I have a personal goal of 3k on the Monk and 3k on the Druid. So yeah, that's the plan. All right, so I'm going to start with this. And this is, like I said, this is the thing that I'm probably going to be the most negative about, so I just want to get this out of the way early. Because when I saw this news initially, like, someone tagged me in Discord for it, and not my guild Discord, but another one, because they know how much I love this, and they showed me the dungeons. I was like 5 minutes short of being on lunch, and I literally was like, yo, I'm gonna take an extra 5 for lunch, because, like, work was kind of stressful anyways, and, like, nobody questioned it. And mainly it's because I saw this, and I was gonna say something really probably inappropriate at work, so I just went and sat in my car and just was like, what the fuck? And then started processing all the news. that was starting to come out. I'm trying to read through the little bit of the changes that I had with my hour on lunch. So let me blow this up a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. Get my fat head out of the way. So this is really the only thing that is the important part for this particular post. And the reason I want to start with this, like I said, because you might see me lose my shit, because this makes me angry, honestly. The title that I'm going to put on this video is going to be probably hyperbolic as shit, but you know, you got to play the game. But I do legitimately believe that Blizzard completely fumbled the ball here and are going to fuck over the excitement for Season 1 of Dragonflight if they keep this dungeon pool in place. Now, I'm not talking about the 4 War Within dungeons. We literally know nothing about them right now, so other than some potential abilities that have been data mined out of the early alpha build with Dawnbreaker, Stonevault, City of Threads, and Arakara. So, we'll probably just call it Threads and Echoes. So I'm ignoring those because we legitimately don't know anything about them. It's these other 4 dungeons that I have severe problems with. If you've watched my YouTube video on like the Transcendence tech, part 2 is coming. I might even record that tonight instead of playing keys. But if you watch part 1 of my Transcendence video, I say at one point, and I don't remember exactly where it's at, so apologies. You just have to watch the whole 50-minute video to find it. But at one point in that video, I talk about the fact that dungeons that play themselves are bad. During Neltharis, when I'm doing Neltharis Transcendence tech, there's a part where I talk about chains. You can skip to that somewhere. It's chaptered out. And I basically said dungeons that play themselves are generally disliked. And Neltharis in Season 1 was generally disliked once people figured out chain tech. Because then the dungeon just became about, in terms of its trash, became just about how well can you use the chains and how much damage you can do. To the point that when Details has to completely like put out a new version that separates the Neltharis chain damage from player, so that way you can get an accurate reading of your damage, like that's bad. Like that is very bad. And the dungeon immediately becomes less fun because then you don't have to actually figure anything out. The only thing you have to figure out is how big can you pull onto chains, how long can your tank live, and then finish off the damage accordingly. Beyond that, like, you don't actually do anything player-wise to positively impact that dungeon in that case. And so I have a real problem with dungeons that, as I call them, dungeons that play themselves. I don't know if Blizzard heard that and decided, hey, let's fuck with this guy, because they chose 3 dungeons that have aspects to them where the dungeon plays itself. What? Now, obviously, there's chances for everything to be reworked, but, like, that's not the point. The point is that you made an active decision to include these aspects. Like, there's a pattern here with these 3 out of these 4 dungeons. And the fact that you're actively making that choice tells me that you actively don't give a fuck about what players do in your dungeons. And you think that a dungeon playing itself is cool and fun and strategic. It is none of those. And you've seen it in practice for 3 expansions now. Like, this type of tech goes back to fucking BFA. And I'll explain why. Like, it may even go back further than that. I wasn't around in Legion, but ever since I've come back in BFA, dungeons that have aspects of them where they play themselves, you think Tol Dagor cannons, you think Siege of Borealis, we're going to talk about spotter tech. You think about Necrotic Wake and its weapons. You think about Grim Batol and its dungeon thing, which is obviously these dungeons here. Like, none of these dungeons are fondly remembered. And yet, you decided to go to the well on them again. And I think that I don't know who made the decision, Blizzard, to say, hey, let's do this. But whoever did clearly doesn't pay attention as much as I think that I would like them to. Because if you realize that you're picking dungeons where there's aspects where the dungeons play themselves, and these dungeons were pretty much universally despised as a result, and think, that's a great idea, let's put them all in a dungeon pool. I don't know what your intention was. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. And I'm very concerned for what that means for Season 1 of Dragonflight from a dungeon standpoint, a Mythic Plus standpoint. Like, there are 2 things that can destroy a season for Mythic Plus. And somehow Blizzard has accomplished both of them in the last, really, in Dragonflight, really. Like, Season 1, it's poor dungeon pool. In Season 1, we saw that, because the non-Dragonflight dungeons, Temple of Jade Serpent, Shadow and Burial Grounds, Court of Stars, what was the other one? I don't remember off the top of my head. Like, these dungeons, like, they weren't very good. And then you had slow tuning on things like Ruby Life Pools and Azure Vault that it just made the season not fun to play, because you knew these dungeons were going to have mechanics and issues that you just couldn't do anything with. And that sucks. They just felt bad to play. And when you have a bad dungeon pool, that hurts a season. The second way that Blizzard can kill seasons is by having bad class tuning, which is what happened when AUG released. Like, the first half of Season 2 was okay. I think most people kind of like the dungeon pool with Underrot and Freehold, and and the other half of the Dragonflight dungeons, Halls of Infusion, wasn't really well liked, but the other three were kind of okay with like Brackenhide obviously being what turned out to be like a really, really fun dungeon to play once they made some targeted tweaks. But when God Comp came around with Bear, AUG, Mage, Warlock, Shadow Priest, and that comp went from not just being played at the very tippy top 0.1% of key, like the world first keys, but that comp was demanded by players being filtered all the way down to like 12s. It destroys a season. Like, I played a lot of Bear in Season 2. Like, I was a meta tank, and even I didn't enjoy it that much, because when I was trying to play Monk, or when I was trying to play my Warrior, or whatever the case may be, I would spend potentially up to hours in LFG simply because I wasn't one of 5 very specific specs. And that made Season 2 really, really bad to play. Season 3, I think overall, for Dragonflight, has been pretty good. The dungeon pool's been fine. I don't think it's the most spectacular in the world, but I think it's been all manageable. A couple of outliers in terms of keys, like most people don't like Rise. I'm personally not a huge fan of Throne of Tides. And I really don't like Darkheart Thicket. I actually think Darkheart is one of the worst Legion dungeons, and they could have picked 3 other dungeons at least from Legion that I would have loved to see more. But Darkheart is generally inoffensive. I just don't think it's good. So like the season 3 pool has been good, and class balance has been good. Obviously, you see certain specific meta comps, yes, and the rise of 4 DPS keys has been more prominent. But overall, like, I've had basically the same wait times to get into keys on my Windwalker as I have on my Hunter, as I have on my Evoker, as I have on my Druid, in whatever role that I'm playing. And that, to me, is what has made Season 3 really fun. And I'm looking forward to Season 4, because outside of some defensive and utility power creep that Blizzard is still not fixed and probably won't fix at this point, I'm excited to see what Season 4 brings to the table. So, but like I said, one of the ways that Blizzard can kill a season is by having a very bad dungeon pool. Now, it is possible that Echoes, Threads, Stone Vault, and Dawnbreaker are all-time classic dungeons. And in a way, if all of these dungeons, say, hit the mark, maybe not necessarily, don't even have to be like completely S tier, but maybe they're all A tier, even B tier dungeons, I still think this season is a failure. So let's go back and let's talk about why I think that's the case. And it has nothing to do with the War Within dungeons. I'm going to start from the bottom. Grim Batol. Grim Batol is from Cataclysm. Every dungeon that they've tried to rework out of Cataclysm, I think, has been bad. Throne of Tide sucked. There was another one that they did from Cataclysm in Season 1 or Season 2, one of the two. But like, these dungeons are old enough that Blizzard has to put in extensive reworks into them. Like, they've had to fundamentally change how bosses work in order for them to be functional in a Mythic Plus setting. And I think that should tell you everything that you have to do. Like, when you basically have to redesign a dungeon in order to make it work for the modern game, you should probably just let that dungeon lie in its past. The other thing about Grim Batol is that its boss fights all generally suck. I don't think any of them are good. They're not interesting. They have mechanics that punish players unnecessarily, particularly the boss that has reflect mechanics. Like, that's bad. And Grim Batal was really one of the first dungeons that I can recall, at least, that has this aspect of it, which was pretty cool at the time because it was very, very unique. But over time has grown to be like very tiresome, in that it has a section where you clear a section of the dungeon by basically doing nothing. And what I mean by that is, in the middle of Grim Batal, if any of you guys have played it in Cataclysm Time Walking or anything like that, is that you jump a dragon, and then you just bomb your mobs in a hallway. After you cross a rock, you can start bombing mobs. Whatever you don't kill has the health remaining, you go and you finish it off. With good coordination, that's going to basically clear out a huge chunk of trash, and then you have to walk like 6 minutes because you can't mount in the dungeon. So you have a long walk, and if your group is poor, then you didn't even kill everything. You have to then stop and kill trash before you can even get over to the next boss, which isn't even in that hallway. It's off on a side tangent and go from there. This dungeon has too much downtime, too much running with no incentive to do anything. You're just running. And in Mythic Plus scenarios, especially in timed Mythic Plus scenarios, that's not fun. Players hate that. That's why DOS was pretty much not enjoyed. It's because you'd spend 4 minutes of that dungeon running, and then it was like a 46-minute timer as a result of it. Because Blizzard had to account for that runtime. Grim Batal is going to be like a 40-minute key, and I don't like that. I don't like dungeons, like, honestly, like, even 36-minute dungeons are too long. So, unless they do something dramatic to change this dungeon, like, this dungeon is just not going to be fun. I don't think it's going to be fun. Too much downtime, too much walking. A dragon section that isn't even fun to do because there's no feedback loop on it. Like, you don't see a damage number. Like, how is it going to get tracked? Like, how are you going to know what mobs you killed? All that stuff. And then, on top of that, it's a dungeon that the boss fights in them kind of suck, and I expect them to be reworked, but the ones that are going to kind of maintain some of the core principles, they are going to be very bad to face on Tyrannical. They're just going to be bad. Like, this dungeon, before any changes are going in, is going to be like F tier bad, I think. And the fact that Blizzard is probably going to have to basically redesign the dungeon from the floor up in order to make it feel good for Mythic Plus just tells me you should just not even bother. Leave, particularly Cataclysm dungeons, leave them in the dust. Now, I know with like time running remakes, they were probably wanted to be hesitant about doing Pandaria dungeons because you're going to be doing all of them in remix. But bring back another WoD dungeon. Like, the WoD dungeons haven't been bad. Shadowmoon Burial Grounds wasn't good, but admittedly that was because it was undertuned. Grimrail Depot was a community vote, so I blame them for that. But Iron Docks banged. I loved Iron Docks. So good. Even though you had the cannon section, it didn't affect the enemies. It only affected the players. So you couldn't even use cannon tech to like kill that trash in that little cannon gauntlet efficiently. You had to still do it on your own, which was cool. And it forced you to have good positioning. It was like, that's why I loved Iron Docks. But there are plenty of other, like Everbloom, okay, not the best, but I'm sure there are other WoD dungeons. Again, I didn't play WoD. But I'm sure there's other WoD dungeons that you could look at and say, hey, maybe we try this one. Or you pick a Legion dungeon that people like. You know, I don't think this one's very good, but... it's Halls of Valor. That was the Season 1 dungeon. I don't think this one was very good, but like Temple of the Magistrate. Bring that one back instead. You know, maybe they're wanting to give Legion dungeons a couple seasons to cool off, and I'm okay with that because we've had Darkheart, and we've had Blackrock Cold, we've had Court of Stars, we've had quite a few Legion dungeons, and so letting them lie for a little bit is probably okay. But if that means you're picking a dungeon like Grim Batal, I kind of want you to just go back to the well in a Legion dungeon again. So anyways, let's move on. Siege of Boralus. Siege of Boralus from Battle for Azeroth. I don't think I need to explain too much why this dungeon is awful. It even says here on the Wowhead post, the dreaded Siege of Boralus from Battle of Azeroth. Like, even Wowhead is like, yo, this is questionable. The Siege of Boralus, for anyone that wasn't aware, had two different experiences depending on what faction you were in. If you were Alliance, you got one type of experience. If you were Horde, you got a different type of experience. Now, generally speaking, I don't know how this is going to work now with cross faction. They're going to have to do some crazy tech, probably like they did with Dawn of the Infinite, where maybe it tunes to the party leader's faction, where depending on what your party leader was or the majority of the group was, your time lost battlefield changed between Gromash or Anduin Lothar. You probably do something like that where the experience that you have is going to be different, but then they need to make some changes to make the experiences similar. Because Alliance players, their Siege of Borealis, no matter what, was a minute longer. I think it was a minute. Because you had extra RP lines at the end of Siege of Borealis before you fight Viscoth. Right. So that probably needs to be changed and updated so that there's uniformity there. That way you don't get basically RNG'd on whether you're doing the Horde side or the Alliance experience on it. The other thing that is a big problem with Siege of Borealis is, again, it goes back to this dungeon playing itself thing, and that's spotter tech. So the spotters are basically, I think it's Ashvane spotters, I think is what they were called. They were basically mobs that would fire off like these cannon barrages that if you stood inside the little circles, you would take damage. But it was friendly fire. So the mobs you could put mobs in there and mobs would take damage. And when people discovered that, what would happen is that they would pull these big packs, do everything they can to keep the spotters alive as long as humanly possible, and then find a way to basically make it so that your tank would tank mobs just outside these circles, and the spotter damage cannons would actually just kill the mobs, because they would do like 10% of their 10 to 15% of their HP on every cannon hit. And it's just not fun to like do that. It's okay for a tank because it's like, hey, I got to figure out how to wrap up all these mobs, and the ones that sit there and cast, how do we get them into these spotter circles? Like, there's some gameplay for tanks, but for everyone else, you're just kind of waiting for the spotter stuff to happen, and then you can kill the spotter. Like, that's not fun. That's not engaging. That's not unique gameplay. You know? And then, like, the last boss, you don't even fight the boss. You just fight a bunch of ads and then fire a cannon that an NPC fixes, and then you move on with your life. Like, Viscoth is supposed, and if you played the Alliance campaign in Tiergard Sound, you know that he's like this massive octopus-like creature that is built up to be kind of scary at the end of the Tiergard Sound thing, and then you just fire a few cannons at him and kill him. And you never once actually engage with fighting him. Like, you don't attack him once, you attack his tentacles. Like, it's very like Deathwing-like in that spine of Deathwing, you just killed all the spines, and then with Deathwing itself, you basically just attacked its arms until the fight was over. Like, that fight is not remembered well for a reason, and Viscoth falls into the same pattern. In between that, like, you have your cannon boss, which is like a lot of responsibility being put on one player while you're trying to dodge swirlies, and has intermittent ad fights in it. Like, that fight just is not fun. The third boss, the big like horror monster, that's pretty cool, but even then there's line of sight mechanics involved with that boss, which aren't fun. Like, players don't like line of sighting in the middle of their boss fights. That's why the third boss of Throne of Tides kind of sucks too. And all of those boss fights were pretty punishing for like no reason. Like, if you screwed it up, like if you had a player with the cannon that didn't do the cannon right, your fight was like 3 minutes longer. And it was, especially on Tyrannical. And it's just not fun, man. Like, the thing that really bothers me about Siege of Borealis is that, like, you have Motherlode sitting right there. Like, dude, Motherlode, like one of the best dungeons, in my opinion, the best dungeon from that expansion, sitting there. Now, Motherlode admittedly needs some tweaks. There's way too much trash in there, and you can fix that. You can either up the count necessary, or you remove some mobs and things like that. But like, you could mount, you could, so that you could traverse your travel better. The trash mobs were interesting and cool. The boss fights were interesting and cool. The last boss's intermission, not so much, but it was still like, they all had interesting and fun mechanics to do. Like, you had your, the first boss, you had like the flame cannon and the wind, and the second boss, you had your ad maintenance, which, I mean, is DK, you were loving life, but everyone else, you kind of hated it. And, but like all the boss fights there, I think were fun to do, whether it was Tyrannical or Fortified. And the trash, for the most part, was really fun to do. Some of them that were annoying, some things that probably needed to be tweaked and adjust. But I mean, because we've seen even with Dragonflight, like stuff that was made literally like within the last 2 years. Not even the last, was it not even the last 2 years? Yeah, it's about 2 years, 18 months or so. They've had to make massive changes to the dungeons that they're bringing back for season 4. So you'd expect to see some tweaks made. But like Motherlode was legitimately a fun dungeon. And a lot of people have it in their top like 3 to 4 for that expansion. Nobody that I talked to liked Siege of Boralus. It was basically right next to Toldagor for the most hated dungeon in BFA. And yet they chose it. Why? Boralus, fantastic city. Best capital city that they've ever made, in my opinion. That's not how I want to go back to Boralus. I want to go back to Boralus because I want to go back to Boralus. I don't want to go back to Boralus because I have to do the worst dungeon from that expansion. And yes, it was worse than King's Rest. Which brings us to Necrotic Wake, which is from Shadowlands. Was one of the dungeons in the Kyrian section. And the big thing, there are two things really that concern me with this dungeon. One is how are they going to handle the Covenant exclusive buffs? Because if someone has to go travel back to frickin' Bastion to become a Kyrian so that you could take advantage of Golem buffs, bad. So you either remove the Covenant buffs completely or you make them usable by any player regardless. I would prefer that you just remove them because all of them kind of sucked and weren't fun. I mean, a couple of them you had to play entirely around them. Necrotic Wake was one, because when you had Golem Orbs and stuff like that, like, you wanted to pull bigger because you were doing bigger damage. And, like, again, just not fun. The other thing about Necrotic Wake is that you had weapons that were scattered throughout the dungeon, and you had to use them wisely. Until people figured out how to use them effectively, was just pulling everything and then hitting all your weapons. Why? Like, what purpose does that serve? The first 2/3 of the dungeon practically played themselves, and even then you maintained weapons all the way up until the last boss so that you could then just burn the last boss by throwing literally every spear and hammer and orb and all that shit that you had at that boss, because it kind of also sucked on Tyrannical. The first boss had area denial that felt unfair at times because it wasn't really, like, you had to do mob control on it, so there's a little bit of skill aspect to it, but like it became super punishing because you couldn't use the entire space that you had because you generally only pulled one side of the room. So you had to go basically up and down one side of the room, and on Tyrannical keys that boss had way too much health and would just take forever. So that was bad. The dragon boss before the third boss, like, you basically just orbed it and it died. And if you didn't have your orbs or you didn't have a spear, you really didn't enjoy your life. If you didn't have good coordinated CCs on the ads, particularly anything that would happen before the big explosion, you would just get wiped, and people didn't know why until you had to figure out how to kill the ads or CC them. The third boss with the hook mechanic, the hook was jank. It was very jank. Like, you'd throw it straight at the boss and sometimes it just wouldn't hook him. And then if you screwed up a hook, it put you way behind on the ads and therefore put you way behind on the boss, and it just took forever. And then the last boss sent one party member down onto the side of the necropolis to basically do nothing but run a dodge a swirly gauntlet, which for some specs was really easy. Like, Monk, it was really easy. Druid, it was pretty easy because you could travel form while charge it. Monk, obviously, had roll. We used Chi Torpedo a lot back then too. You had Flying Serpent Kick as Windwalker. But then, like, some specs like DK and Priest, and to a lesser extent Paladin, like, they struggled. Warlock was another one where, like, they would just go down there forever and not even, like, bother with it. Now, sometimes it was fun, where if you timed your invis correctly or you timed a feign death correctly, you'd force your partner to go down there. But generally speaking, when it was easier to just go down there, die, take your 5-second penalty, get ported back to the top and get battle rezzed, when that was the best strategy for dealing with that mechanic, yeah, that's bad. So this dungeon like had no good bosses. I thought none of these bosses were fun. It played itself because of all the stuff involving orbs and spears and axes and shit like that. The not even to mention that the area that, in the third boss's room that you'd go up to, the necropolis, like certain ground targeted spells just didn't work. Like warlocks couldn't rain a fire in that dungeon when you're up in the necropolis. Like Starfall was the same way, because Starfall was targeted on the ground at the time. Like you just couldn't do it. So like, what? So like, yeah, just these three dungeons, I'm fucking angry. I hate it. Mist of Tyrannus Scythe. Now, this one is probably going to be the most controversial take that I have. I think Mist of Tyrannus Scythe is a bad dungeon. Now, when I was doing it at the time, I didn't hate it all the time. But with the benefit of hindsight, this dungeon I don't think is as good as people remember it. And there's a few reasons why. And we're going to start at the beginning of the dungeon. Number one, you had to have a Night Fae to go the fastest route. And you had to have a Night Fae in order to unlock checkpoints. Now, that whole expansion, Blizzard was completely shit about checkpoints in their dungeons. So that's kind of was like just par for the course. We just kind of got used to it. But like dungeon checkpointing, for people that don't understand how important it is, it's like one of the most valuable things that Blizzard can do well in a dungeon. It literally elevates a dungeon from bad to manageable if there's good checkpointing in the boss fights. And if there's not, it feels really bad. Think about in like Everbloom, where if like you die before third boss, instead of spawning at the location where you fought the little council, you spawn at the beginning of the dungeon. And every time it feels bad. Mist of Tyrannus Scythe, you had good checkpoints, which, again, I think made people think the dungeon was better than what it was. But if you didn't have a Night Fae, you couldn't access the checkpoints, which means when you released at the start of the dungeon. And had to run all the way through. So that's really shit thing about Mist Part 1. Part 2, the trash before the first boss kind of all sucks. Like you have the big trees, which are a pain in the ass to fight, were really bad on particular weeks. When you had affixes such as like Necrotic in particular, but Necrotic was worse in the second third and the last third of the dungeon. But like those mobs were infinitely had much more health. So things like bolstering and raging just felt really brutal for DPS tanks and healers alike. Not to mention you had to have quick on your feet thinking with some of the trash around it in order to keep it kicked, but also like not try to kill it too fat. Like it was just all a pain in the ass. And then you did an invis gate skip in order to avoid more trash, because you would go way over count in that dungeon if you just pressed W. And then you had to go get another Night Fae to open up the mushrooms so that you could get more damage. And the mushrooms became mandatory in the higher the keys that you went, because then you wouldn't have the DPS to kill the first boss, especially in higher tyrannical keys. That first boss was a very strict and tight DPS check for no reason. And it's not like I'm talking about like the highest of keys. Like that key was being done at 30, 31 if I recall, in BFA. Like that key started becoming, like that DPS check became super tight at like 17s. And that is bad. That means your scaling was fucked. And they could never fix it because of the way that fight worked. Where basically, when Droman was available, he took 90% less damage. So you were forced to switch to this ad. And that's half your fight, is just killing this ad until he hits like 5% health, breaks free of the control temporarily, and does something that allows you to then do giga damage to the boss. And then once the boss got out of that stun and re-controlled Droman and got his damage reduction again, it was rinse and repeat. All the while, there's tons of space denial going out, tons of random damage going out for no fucking reason, and that DPS check was super tight. Even at like 18 keys, if you're 17, 18 keys, if your goal was to just time the key, you knew within the first like 10 minutes of that key if you were going to time it or not. Because if you didn't, at worst, two-phase the first boss, the key was over. Even if nobody died, if everyone's playing perfectly, if you didn't have the damage to kill that boss within 2, and ideally you did it in 1 phase, but if you didn't do it in 2 phases, your key was dead. You weren't gonna time it. It didn't matter what else you did in that key. It was over, and that's horrible design. And then we move on to the Moonberry puzzle. Now, in theory, I think this was a cool idea. What happened in practice is that people just got a weak aura that puzzle solved it for you. And initially it was just like, oh, you put in the logos that you see and it'll tell you which one. And then the weak aura game evolved on it to where like people figured out what all the patterns were. To where once you put in the first pattern, you didn't have to interact with the puzzle anymore because the weak aura would tell you exactly which path to go. Because it knew based off of whatever was the first pattern, here's the rest of it. When a weak aura makes the dungeon 5 minutes faster for you, that's a problem. Bad design. Poor design. Not to mention that Lady Moonberry was also bad. She was not fun. And if you had like an all melee group, she was overtly punishing because of the fox mechanic. Like punishing for no reason. And then the trash after the second boss, again, if you didn't get your checkpoint at the bottom of the waterfall, you were going all the way back to the beginning. And then the trash after the third boss with all the gorms and the flies, like, not necessarily bad. Heaven forbid you miss the shield kick though, because if you didn't have a priest to dispel it, and it was only, I think it was only mass dispel or purge. So if you didn't have a priest or shaman, heaven forbid you're killing that mob for an extra 15 seconds on tyrannical and probably like an extra 45 seconds on fortified, because that shield was big for no reason. Like it punished you heavily for missing a kick. And then it was just Dispel City, like Poison Cleansing Totem would have been great there because it didn't exist. Your healer was stressed out from having to poison dispel. You had to bring other poison dispel classes. Monk was very good in there for that reason. Druid was very good in there for that reason because you just had your poison dispel. And then yeah, it had circles that could potentially boop you off the tree branches, but that's more of like, I didn't mind that mechanic because it basically was like, yo, stand in the swirl and fuck around and find out. But then again, if you died, you didn't spawn back on the area that you're at. You just stayed in the pit and were forced to release. Guess what? If you didn't have your checkpoints, you didn't have a Night Fae, where were you releasing? The very beginning, where, by the way, you did an Invis skip or a Warlock Gate skip. If you don't have an Invis potion or stealth, you're now screwed because you can't get by the mobs that you skipped earlier in the dungeon. And then the last boss was just a massive hit point sponge, to the point that it wasn't fun. Because when she'd spawn all of her swirlies and stuff, like, it was there. Like, that boss was garbage. Like, people kind of hate Yasma because, like, just things happen and that boss takes forever to kill. The last boss in Mists of Sierra Scythe is the exact same thing as Yasma. So to have that dungeon be in this pool, Mists of Sierra Scythe, like, people remember it fondly, and I don't understand why. I never liked Mist. I hated Mists. I thought it was one of the worst dungeons of Shadowlands. Like, I know there are going to be people that disagree with me. I know there are people that are excited to see Mists again. I am not. I am not excited to see Mists again. So these 4 dungeons, to me, they're all, like, at best, D tier dungeons. So again, half your dungeons are D or F tier. If these 4 War Within dungeons are the 4 best dungeons Blizzard has ever made, the season is a failure. And I have a fucking problem with that. And Blizzard, you can fucking do better. You have time, change these dungeons. If you're insistent on bringing back Shadowlands dungeons, bring back the ones that people actually liked. Because Necrotic Wake wasn't it. Spires of Ascension, not it. Like, the Shadowlands dungeons in general, not very well received. Halls of Atonement, you can bring back. I think people would be happy with that. I'd personally be okay with Sanguine Depths. I enjoyed Sanguine Depths. Tazavesh was the best dungeon that expansion had. So, like, that's, like, the thing that is, like, you have those options on the table, and Mists is the one that you choose. Like, again, I don't understand why you thought this was a good idea. Like, there has to be a way for you to be able to get feedback from players ahead of time and saying, hey, here's some dungeons that we're thinking about. What do you think? And I guarantee you, Necrotic Wake and Mist of Tyrannus Scythe probably wouldn't have been the top 2 dungeons on that list. Halls of Atonement absolutely would have been the number 1 dungeon on that list. And I think Sanguine Depths might have been number 2. It's just like... my excitement for Season 1 of War Within is significantly hampered. Because I love Mythic Plus. Like, it is the thing that I love the most about this game, other than breaking down classes. And to have these 4 dungeons that are all fundamentally extremely flawed and poorly designed dungeons all grouped together in one season when it's half your dungeon pool is disheartening. It is very disheartening. And like I said, Echoes, Threads, Vault, and Breaker could be 4 of the greatest dungeons you have ever made in your life. But when I don't get one of those keys, I'm going to feel bad. I'm going to be less motivated to play dungeons and to do Mythic Plus. Because these 4 dungeons are just god awful. They are so bad. And I don't know how the decision was made to make these the 4 dungeons. Now, again, there are going to be aspects of them that I think are taken out, and maybe some things that are a little bit added in that can make all of these better. You better fucking nail it, or this season and Mythic Plus is going to fail. It is going to fail. Particularly if things like Delves or the Raid, if they're very good and people can get good gear from doing that content, where they don't feel like they have to do Mythic Plus, basically only your people that only play Mythic Plus regardless, and like don't only want to play that mode because it's the only thing they want to do, are going to play the season. Like, you're not going to be able to attract your casual audience. Your hardcores are going to bitch and complain about the season all season long. Like, nobody wins. And yet this is a decision that you somehow came to. I'm disappointed. I'm mad. And should I get mad over a video game? No. But like, for something that I care a lot about, which is Mythic Plus, like, it is my favorite mode in the game. It is a big reason why I still play WoW, is Mythic Plus. To have it, this type of taste in my mouth about something that isn't here, that like, knowing that when I go to the War Within, and I'll be excited about leveling, experiencing the story, getting into the World Soul Saga, seeing what the raid brings, seeing what Xal'atath is up to. Like, there's a lot of things about War Within that I'm excited about. And as you can tell by these tabs up across the top of this computer's monitor, there's a lot of things that I want to talk about that I'm actually looking forward to. This hurts. It hurts. Like, it just hurts my feelings, Blizzard. The somehow, out of the expansions that you were looking at, these are somehow the 4 dungeons that you felt were going to be the best choices. Siege of Boralus, like, just confuses me because Motherlode exists. Anyways, let's move on. Let's look at some of the dungeon journal abilities from War Within. These aren't going to tell us a ton. We've seen some of the loot. Let's look at like the speech rod. It's a haste burst staff. That's intellect. That's fine. This trinket. Let's see. Your attacks have a chance to stir the larynx, allowing its dark whispers to influence you. Each whisper flows through your mind, gaining strength. Okay, so it's a Pally DK Warrior trinket. And then you release shadow damage over 3 seconds split between all enemies. Your whispers leave to join the chorus, increasing its damage before falling silent. Okay. Very flavorful in its text. Basically, you get a proc that gives you some strength, and then you can use the trinket. Again, it's one of the trinkets you just line up with your cooldowns on a 2-minute cooldown, do some damage to enemies, and go. Fine. Nothing exciting, but nothing bad. Let me shrink this down here. Actually, the other thing I'm going to do. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change my backgrounds to the spiral here, because we don't need Sad Pepe. I've already gone on my rant already. Let's see. Chains of Oppression affect players if they move too far, or if he moves too far from them. So this sounds like there's going to be positional requirements. And then upon reaching 100 energy, he torments players with Vociferous Indoctrination, which does damage every second, and then forcing them to run from his lingering influence, which I'm assuming is like an aura around. So so it's an interesting... The idea on this is kind of interesting because you have your chains, which force you to stay close, but then the lingering influence and the vociferous indoctrination force you to be away from him. So I'm going to see, curious, how does that overlap work? And what's the effect on players? Does it silence them? No, it just pulls you back in. Oh, it does damage and pull you back in. Interesting. And I'm going to be curious to see how I would be curious how these interact with each other. So this probably goes out to a random target then. So this is a cone in front of them. So does this, again, if this is going to be one of those, does it follow the player it's targeting? If that's the case, this is bad. If it like picks a player, puts out a cone, and you have to dodge the cone, fine. Very standard mechanic. Shadows of Doubt. So see how behind spiritual removal, doubt explodes outwards from the target, dealing 21 shadow damage to players and stunning them for 3 seconds. Quote unquote challenge. So there's like a challenge mode almost. So basically, you're going to have a player that has to run away from everything and get stunned every 3 seconds. This could probably be bad. 3 seconds is a long, long time. So it leaves behind an area of lingering influence. Okay. So it's going to be a thing on the ground. So you have to manage your space. Sure. I'll go through all of these later. Like, I don't want to go too deep into these because I kind of want to see a lot of them in action. Cinderbrew Meadery's got some cool fucking boss names, though. Bank Busby, Brewmaster Algier, IPA. We love this. Love this. And then Goldie Baronbottom. Obviously, Cinderbrew not going to be in the dungeon. Let's just look at some boss names. How about that? Let's just do this and we'll just look at some boss names. So City Threats has Orator Krixvizik. So this is obviously probably going to interact with a lot of Calaxy type stuff is what I'm sounding for. Fangs of the Queen. Interesting. Giant Wolf, like Fenrir. The Co-Amalgamation. Or Coaglimation. Interesting. And let's just look at the loot. Let's see if there's anything cool here. Alright, let's look at this trinket here. It's an agility trinket, okay. Open the pouch and draw Nyx's shadow blade to quickly strike at enemies in front of you, dealing damage to all enemies hit. You can patch up to X amount of times within until canceled before it sees itself to magically recharge its contents. Obviously, we'll need to see what the timing is on that. But you can do it, it sounds like up to 3 times, where if you do it a second time, it does frost damage with a long range attack. So you got to be careful with potentially pulling more mobs. And then it just does both the Frost Strike and the Shadow Strike at the same time. I actually kind of find that neat. Be interesting. Let's Coaglimation. Let's start here. Let's see anything cool. All right, let's look at this trinket. Intellect Trinket. For healers, your excessive healing attracts nearby shadow energy to your party, storing up to X amount of health and restoring the target's health when they receive damage. Okay, so that's cool. So it just basically is like a stored healing thing, a Vesper Totem, a Seedling, a Echo type effect with Preservation Evokers. Then you can use it directing all the current shadow energy to your target, so it has a damage cooldown aspect to it as well. I'm assuming that it says shadow energy, so I'm assuming that is going to... Actually, no, so it's just shadow energy is what it does with your excess healing. So you can either release it early and have it like big heal a target. If you could potentially use it as a damage aspect, then that makes it a really interesting trinket. I hope that it's allowed to be used as damage, because that would be really cool. Let's see, some crit verse stuff. My Brewmaster is very happy, although that's a shield. Alright, nothing interesting else interesting from trinkets or weapons. And then Ezo, the Grand Splicer. Let's look. Splice and Dice. I appreciate the name, and the fact that it's a dagger is very awesome, so kudos to that. Let's see, that's a ring. Polearm, strength polearm. Crit verse. No one's really going to want that. That's interesting. Unless, obviously, stat prios can change. Let's see. Here's this trinket. Serial Concoctory. Your spells have a chance to inspire you, enhancing them to experiment on an ally, enhancing them in unforeseen ways for 20 seconds. Obviously, we'll need to see what this trinket does. It could be very good. It could be very bad. I don't think there's anything in the middle. Priory of the Sacred Flame. So we get Captain Dalecry. Honestly, I thought it's a delicacy for a sec. Alright, let's see. Anything interesting loot-wise off of this? An agility polearm. It's haste mastery. Sorry, survival hunters. Alright, Signet of the Priory. So usable by any class. This probably means that this trinket's going to be sought after. Raise your signet to the light. Sorry, Shadow Priests. Increasing your highest secondary stat for 20 seconds. Alright. Your act inspires nearby signet bearers within your party, granting them... Okay, so this is much like the... what was the trinket in Nathria off of Stone Legion? Stone Legion's Heraldry. I think that was what it was called. Where the more of it you had, the better it was. This is going to be something very similar to where if there's only one of these in your party, it's probably not very good. If there's 4 or 5 of these in your party, probably going to bang. So that's going to be a really interesting one to see, like if you're going to have to get into pugs and ask if someone has Signet. So interesting trinket. We'll see how... I'll be curious to see what happens with that. Baron Braunpike. Tome of Light's Devotion. I knew this as soon as I read the name. I knew this was a trinket. Alright. Equip. Advance to the 50 verses of Inner Resilience, reading as you are attacked. Inner Resilience increases your armor and grants your attacks a chance to invoke a ward, which absorbs magic damage. When finished, sift through the passages to find another chapter, and the equip on this has an 7.5 minute cooldown? 750 seconds? No, it's like, Jesus Christ. 750 MS cooldown, millisecond cooldown. I'll say, Jesus, this guy has a 10 minute cooldown, it's dead. So it's like a 1.5 second ICD. It's actually not bad. Armor's kind of whatever, but the absorb on it would be pretty good. It's not a bad tank trinket. If you're looking for something purely defensive, there are probably going to be specs that could use this a lot, especially if you take a lot of damage. So Bear and Brewmaster immediately come to mind because they have a lot of damage intake. They take a lot of damage because they don't have a lot of ways of like dodge or parry. You know, they don't have shields or dodge or parry or whatever the case may be. And then sift through the passages in the tome with increased radiance. Don't know what that means, so we'll have to see what that looks like. Okay, tank trinket. Immediately, I'm not impressed. Kind of depends on how much value you gain out of armor. I think for Brewmaster, this will be pretty good, but for other tanks, it may not be that great. All right, Mace, Intellect Mace, so not bad there. All right, and Prioress Murprey. I'll be curious what we got here. Elysian Flame Crown. Okay, let's see. Haste Verse Strength Sword. That's good for tank, or it's a two-handed sword, so good for DKs. Not great, or great for blood DK probably, but probably not going to be all that good for Frost or Unholy. Probably decent for Ret. It'll be like a decent sword. Like if you get this and it's the best weapon that you have, you're not upset. But there's probably other weapons that are going to be better. Agility Mace. Crit Verse. Interesting. So potential Windwalker weapon. Alright, Bursting Light Shard. So this is an intellect trinket. Summon a Bursting Light Spawn, which sacrifices its health to unleash Burst of Light, inflicting holy damage split evenly between nearby enemies every 5.2 seconds while it lives. That's a very specific number for whatever reason. So this sounds like it's definitely going to be a trinket that the longer the pool goes, it'll be good. So it's probably going to be bad on low keys where like stuff doesn't live that long, but as you get into higher keys, particularly on fortified weeks, this sounds like it might be a pretty good option. Okay, interesting. I don't think it's probably going to be the best for most any spec, but it might not be a bad option. All right, the Dawnbreakers, one of our Season 1 dungeons. Speaker Shadow Crown. The Void Packstone, Strength Trinket, so DKs, Paladins, Warriors. Your attacks have a chance to call the Pact. It's exploding for shadow damage split between your ally enemies and increasing your haste. Your death breaks the Pact, causing a violent explosion. Interesting. So obviously most strength specs like the haste aspect of this, so I think this is going to be a pretty good trinket. Because thinking about like all of the specs, like Dual Wield Frost DK may not like this one as much, but even then they don't hate haste because of Rune of Hysteria and Runic Continuation, giving them a lot of RP. And if you're running Dual Wield right now, it's basically Breath of Sindragosa. So definitely an interesting trinket. I don't hate the idea of it. I'll be very curious to see what kind of damage it does on death, because if it's worth it Like, if you can kill a pack, like, more than 5 seconds faster, like, if this trinket does enough damage to where you can kill a pack, like, in 10 seconds, 1000% sacrificing your fucking Ret Pally. Kill them all. Probably not going to be the case, but it's a nice little flavorful thing where when the Ret Pally inevitably pulls aggro and dies, you know, at least they got some value on their death. Alright. Offhand, Claw Shoulders. Crit Haste Ring. It's a pretty good ring. A lot of people are going to like that. That pack sounds interesting. Alright. Anub Ikaj. Let's see, that's a ring for sure. Scheming of Sailor's Bands. Let's see. Crit Burst Dagger. Rogue's obviously the only specs that can use daggers, so it's going to be interesting how they balance that, because when only one spec uses them, agility daggers at least, it's always like, you have to be very mindful. Two-handed polearm, crit haste polearm, that's an agility weapon. Hello, Survival Hunters. Here's a weapon on a platter for you. Obviously, druids may not hate it either, but Windwalkers don't want that, I can tell you, because there's no haste scaling in our kit still, at least as of now. I know Windwalkers or monks in general got some changes. Trust me, we will talk about it. All right, Empowering Crystal of Anub Akaj. So this is an agility or intellect trinket. So your spells and abilities have a chance to let loose a nascent empowerment from the crystal, increase them a random secondary stat by 1410 for 20 seconds. So depending on your spec, this is either going to be really good or really bad. So you have specs like Survival Hunter that don't want to see a single point of mastery ever in their life right now because of the way their mastery works. So like if they get a mastery proc on this, this trinket is useless. But a spec that doesn't necessarily mind all stats, you think of like Feral Druid doesn't necessarily hate all stats. Like Verse is not super valuable, but if it gets Verse, like it's not hating itself. Mastery's good. Obviously, crit would be supreme, and it even scales better with haste now. So, like, Feral Druid wouldn't mind this. Probably going to be like an upper level trinket, not the best for the majority of specs. It might be best for one or two. Not a bad trinket though. I don't think that's a bad idea. It's a passive trinket, which are, to me, I always like passive trinkets because I hate remembering to use my unused ones. So, not a bad. I don't hate that one. Rashanan. Alright. Melradar's Toll. Intellect trinket. Release a toll of holy light upon the target, inflicting a bunch of holy damage. The next 5 allies to attack the target will receive the blessing of Melradar, increasing their verse by 602 for 10 seconds. This is fucking cool. I like this on first impression. This is neat. Because you can, like a healer could use it if they want a more offensive oriented kit. Like if they just have bad luck. Casters will like this, even though most casters don't like verse, but like giving your tank another 600 verse, like that's another 1%, 2% verse, whatever the case may be. Like that's good. This is a very cool trinket. I really like it. I think you'll see in raid settings, it's probably not going to be as used. I mean, it only affects 5 allies, so it'll be very good in Mythic Plus, I think. I don't know if it'll be the best raid trinket or a good trinket for raid, but I think in Mythic Plus you'll see a lot of intellect users using this. See, crit haste, one-handed mace. I can think of some specs that would like that. Agility sword, crit first sword. So again, we got some potential dual-wield Windwalker weapons here. I'm okay with that as a monk player. Like, we've had an expansion where basically we've used polearms the entire fucking expansion. So having some time where I get to dual wield again and have to get 2 enchants and shit like that, I'm down with it. Here's our first hunter weapon, Haste Mastery. Both hunter weapons will like, hunter specs at least right now like that, so good stuff there. Oh, it even has some extra stuff in here, but we're not going to go over all of these too much. Oh, this is from the data mining. Okay. The Rookery. We're going to some birdhouse, buddy. All right. Curios. Let's look at this. This plume is a trinket for sure. Channel the... so it's an agility trinket. Cool. Channel the ability, the power of the storm to crash down on the target location, dealing a bunch of nature damage. Split. Okay, so you're probably just going to line that up with a cooldown. Nature damage, if it scales off of like enhancement mastery, then they're going to like it. No, the spec really does a ton in the way of nature damage though, so it's like kind of whatever. It's just cool magic damage. Since it does a ton of damage, it's probably going to be good to line up, especially if you have 90-second windows. So I think of like Unholy DK, you can use it on every other dark transformation. You think of like, but you know, Unholy doesn't do agility, but if the damage is good, like I've seen people not use primary stat. I think Enhancement Shaman will like this because I think their stuff is on like 45 seconds, so you can use it every other one there. Feral, nothing that really lines up on a 90-second cooldown, so Windwalker, you're 1 minute or 2 minutes, so you don't have anything that's you're kind of holding it with Zhuan. So that would be, I mean, obviously we'll see what class changes happen, but at least right now I can't think of a ton of agility. I don't know anything about Rogue, sorry. I don't know if Rogues could use this well, but the ones that I play, Survival Hunter doesn't have anything on 92nd that would line up well. Feral doesn't have anything good on 92nd. Windwalker in its current state doesn't either. It's got to do a lot of damage for it to be used, I think, and it does, so. Intellect Staff, Crit Haste, quite a few specs will like that. And then a one-handed Haste Verse Agility Axe. So again, Haste Verse, quite a few specs. Again, Monk wants to avoid haste, but again, if it's a good weapon, you want to use it, we'll take that. Stormguard Gorin. Let's see. Another bow. So we have a bow and a crossbow that have been seen for hunters. So both haste mastery, so it's really just whatever you get to drop first, or if you have a preference of look. Two-handed strength crit mastery mace. Blit builds will love that for Frost DK. Blood DKs will probably like that. And if you're haste capped on your warrior, you probably wouldn't hate either of these because they both like crit and mastery, so not bad. Alright. Again, the Sigil of Algarian Concordance, all primary stats, which again means it's going to be probably a decent trinket. Your abilities have a chance to call an Earthen Ally to your aid, supporting you in combat. It's going to entirely depend on what that Earthen Ally does, on how good this is going to be. Voidstone Monstrosity. Love the name. Love the word monstrosity. Great name. One-handed mace. It's Verse Mastery. Paladins might like it. Verse Mastery Agility Dagger. Alright. Tropics Garden Core. So it's a crit trinket. So I can already think of some specs that would like this. Oh wait, I see Intellect. Never mind the specs I'm thinking about. Don't want it anymore. Your spells have a chance to destabilize the void energy, releasing a corrupted fragment. Retrieving a fragment briefly infuses you with its power, increasing your intellect for 15 seconds. So this trinket is going to entirely rely on how far away do these fragments infuse with you. How hard are they to see? Like, you're going to need some really good feedback loop on this Blizzard so that people can take advantage of it. Because there are some specs that really like the base crit on it. But if the equip on it isn't very good, then, like, you're probably not... This probably isn't going to see a lot of play. So you better have some good feedback on retrieving the fragment, and it better not fall too far from you, or you have a way to be able to suck them in, like Demon Hunters do, or, like, Monks with Spinning Crane Kick. When they spin and crane kick as Brewmaster, your Gift of the Ox Orbs slowly absorb onto your character. Stuff like that would be good. Potentially very good, potentially really bad. I'm really curious to see how this works in practice. The Stone Vault. Edna Moore. And guest. Alright. Cool name, not what I thought I was expecting. Emergency Stop Keychain. As a neck. That's cool. I like that name. This sounds like it's going to be one of my favorite dungeons just because of the names. Like anything that involves like wacky gadget names and stuff, I'm down with. Crit versus Polearm. Well, possibly your best weapon for Monk. We'll see. And our first gun. Crit verse, not stats that necessarily Hunters or BM or MM likes a ton right now, but we'll see. No trinkets. Interesting. Skarmorak. Guys, the construct. Let's see. And here's our first Warglaive, so congrats, Demon Hunters. And a two-handed Intellect Mace. So, Prop Paladins, Balanced Druids will use this. Shaman, I think, can use this. I don't remember off the top of my head, so. Crit Haste. We'll see. Alright, and the Skarmorex Shard. It's an on-use trinket and an equip. So the on-use, grasp the shard tightly to enrich yourself with the Crystalline Energy, increasing your mastery for 15 seconds on a 90-second cooldown. So, spec like, and it's strength-based, so Unholy will like this, Frost will like this, Fury Warrior will like this, Prot Paladin will like this, and then the shard draws in remnant energy from defeat. So when you kill an enemy, you gain mastery. So very much a Mythic Plus trinket. This is not going, or a fight that has a lot of adds in raid. Like pure single target bosses like Volcaros, for example, this trinket is useless. Potentially, I mean, the mastery on use effect might be worth, but the equip effect is going to be useless. But a fight like Gnawroot, where you have those flower adds in Mythic that you kill constantly, give you some mastery boost there. So entirely going to depend on encounter design and how much specs like your thing, whether or not that's going to be good. And I think that's okay with trinkets. Forge Speakers. This sounds like a multi-boss fight, which we'll see. Alright, Safety Belt, Cape, Songspire. That is a Haste Mastery Intellect Staff. I know a lot of specs to chase that early on. Another healer trinket, Scrapped Singer's Symphony. Your healing abilities have a chance to call the nearby metal to form a shield around an ally, absorbing 73,241 damage. So basically just give him a good absorb shield. That's never bad as a healer. Anything that'll make your life easier is always better. The shield reacts explosively to fire, inflicting fire damage when struck with... So like if an enemy does fire damage to you, you lose a big absorb and do like minor fire damage. That's interesting, because that's either gonna be very good in some dungeons or it's gonna be complete garbo in dungeons. I would hope that the damage eventually gets tweaked to where it does like more than like 1% of the shield. Like I would love to see it do like 50% of whatever's left on the shield is fire damage. Like that would be better. But it probably makes it like mandatory for all healers. And then the Overclocked Geararang Launcher. So no stats on it, so this better do a lot of fucking damage. Launch the Superheated Geararang, inflicting Flame Strike damage to an enemy. So that's what, physical and fire damage. Losing heat as it cuts through them, so it does reduce damage on every hit. Your melee attacks have a chance to... Okay, so it's a melee trinket, so sorry hunters. I'm sorry casters. Your melee attacks have a chance to crank the launcher's gears, decreasing its cooldown by 5 seconds, and heating up your weapon, which causes your next attack to inflict... Whoa. Okay. So specs that do a lot of white hits. Now, it says melee attacks. That has always meant weird things. Does that mean special abilities? Because if so, then this trinket is... And depending on what the potential ICD on the cooldown reduction is, this trinket is potentially like one of the best for melee. And every melee is going to go chasing it. Obviously want to see how this is implemented, but I'm very intrigued. Very, very intrigued. And High Speaker Eirik. See, one-handed strength versus mastery sword. So again, some the tanks will like it, potentially. A decent weapon for dual-wield Frosty Key builds. Another crossbow crit versus crossbow. Probably not going to be highly sought after. Unless it's just, like I said, the best eye-level weapon that you get. Our first fist weapon, that is agility-based. So Enhancement Shamans, monks will like this too. Well, crit haste, so monks may not like it a lot. But Enhancement Shaman 100% will like this weapon. High Speaker's Accretion. Mastery equip. But you have an on use, which charges the crystal to summon the rift that draws power from nearby enemies, inflicting shadow damage over 6 seconds. Cool. When the rift collapses, its drawn energy returns to you to increase your intellect by 330 for 20 seconds, further increased for each enemy struck. So the question that I have with this is that if you're a caster, say you're a mage, warlock, moonkin, moonkin's the most likely one I'd be playing. And moonkin, I'm standing, unless there's a specific reason not to, I'm standing 30, 40 yards away. It says nearby enemies. Do I need to go stand in melee range for this? Now, it's a Mistweaver, I kind of want this trinket. I'm not going to lie. So, a lot of it's going to depend on the mechanics. When it says nearby enemies, is it nearby to your target or nearby to the player? If it's nearby to the player, then this is Balorelos, except less fun. if it's to the target, then this trinket is really nice. All right. Arakara, City of Echoes. Avadax. Let's see. Any trinkets or anything like that that we can start looking at here? Another intellect sword, so cool for the specs that want that. All right. Arakara Sack Brood. Haste equip, so that's obviously going to make it interesting. Your abilities have a chance to stir the sack. We're not going to make the sex jokes, guys. No sex jokes. Releasing an egg which grants you 275 of your primary stat. Each egg hatches after 1 minute, and the new brood attacks your next target, inflicting nature damage over 8 seconds. Huh. So this trinket is better the longer the boss fight goes. Because obviously, like, you're talking after 1 minute, like, in dungeons, like, not a lot of stuff lasts more than a minute, but you're talking in raid boss fights that last 5, 7 to, anywhere between 5 to 8 minutes on average for most people on their progression or in first kills. Like, this trinket could have some big value in raid, potentially, depending on how fast that is. The 1 minute hatch time is gonna make it very difficult to use. So if there's like 10-minute boss fights, I think this one probably is okay, especially if you can have multiple eggs out at a time. Like, if you can have 6 eggs out all at a time and getting, 8,000 primary stat and doing like 30,000, 100,000 nature damage over 8 seconds, like, cool. It could be very, very good. So this trinket, I think it swings really wildly on how good it's going to be. Anub Zekt. Ceaseless Swarm Gland. Agility or Strength trinket. Okay. The gland releases pheromones which attract the ceaseless swarm, surrounding you with a high chance to retaliate against attackers and reducing. So it's a tank trinket. Not a very good tank trinket, but a tank trinket. Oh, it's my buddy Azula entering. Wow. So I don't think this is gonna see a lot of play. The other tank trinket seems like it's better. Alright. Let's see. Another Warglaive for you demon hunters. Agility staff. First mastery agility staff. I can think of a couple specs that I play that would like that. An intellect dagger. Okay. Harvester's Edict. Your spells and abilities have a chance to summon a blood worker to deliver volatile black blood to your target, exploding for a lot of shadow damage split between all nearby enemies on impact. Intercepting the delivery allows you to siphon its power, increasing your mastery. Interesting. This is probably pretty bad for melee then. I mean, if the damage is good enough. Like, honestly, I could see Survival Hunter taking this strictly for the exploding damage, and they never want to intercept the delivery. It kind of depends on how it works. Like, if it's like a minion that like the Demon Hunter Throw Glaive destruction thing does, where you can see it coming before it actually hits the mobs, then melee might like, certain melee might like this. But if it's like spawns from where your body's at, from wherever you're at, then melee aren't going to be able to take advantage of the mastery aspect of it. And classes that like mastery, agility, I'm thinking immediately like Enhancement Shaman, they aren't going to be able to really take advantage of that a lot, and they're just going to rely on the explosion damage to carry it. Interesting. I want to see how this trinket works, but my initial impressions are that it's going to be mid. Alright, Cinderbrew Meteory, which has my favorite boss names in there. So Goldie Baron bottom, let's look. Slash-proof business plate, 85 years tenure ring, small token awarded by the BEO for those who dedicate their entire lives to service. I love this. Profit divider is a one-handed strength axe. Oh my god. Azeroth's greatest BEO cap is a mail helm, was passed down. Passed down. Oh my god, I love this. Haste Mastery legs, cloth, and then our Synergistic Brutalizer. Intellect trinket, so your spells have a chance to charge your device and request a backfill barrel near your target's location. Damaging the barrel causes it to explode, inflicting fire damage split amongst nearby enemies. How easy is this going to explode? Can, like, you AoE it or cleave it off of your primary target? If that's the case, great. If you have to switch to it to damage it and then switch back to your normal target, that's going to feel bad. So, potentially very good if it is cleavable. And can anyone damage it, or does it have to be the player? I love the names. These are all fucking wonderful. Let's see what IPA it's got. A sticky stirring stick. I knew that was a staff. Brewery Toiler's Waistband, Strapped Rescue Keg, IPA's Pale Ale Guards. I love these names. Holy shit. Hops Laden Grape Boots, the Cinder Brew Soaked Cowl, and Vessel of the Beverage. That better be a fucking beer stein. Brewmaster Aldreer, Crusher of the Unsettled. Interesting. The best tool for collecting delinquent. I love this. Agility Mace. It's quite a few specs like that. Foam Ridden Pauldron, Chief Chewie's Towel, Battlescar Fisticuffs, the Cinder Brew Stein. Hey, it has the Keck Smash logo. Valid only for tank spells. Oh, wow, that's new. So this is a true, strict tank trinket that literally won't work if you're not a tank spec. That's interesting, because you have something like Ferox Tinted Rage Art right now, which a lot of specs are using, because the shield is massive on it, and it's really good defensively. It's meant to be a tank trinket. Well, now they might do something like this, where, like, it's a tank trinket, but only tanks can actually use it. Watered down for consumption by lesser immortals. That's funny. All right, let's look at what it does. Occasionally share a drink with your allies, who assist you in combat, granting them 1099 of their primary stat for 15 seconds and absorbing damage. You also take a sip as well, granting your own primary stat and absorbing damage. When you fall below 50% health, take an emergency sip. This can occur over once every minute. Honestly, this is a really good defensive trinket, because it basically is going to give your, like, when it says allies who assist you in combat, does that mean healing you? Like, what does assisting you in combat mean? If it's just like something that impacts you directly, then really it's only your healer for it. But giving your healer extra 15, giving them an 1100 intellect for 15 seconds, not bad, especially when you also gain primary stat yourself. But if it's like literally anyone that does anything to you, like if it's just something that happens while you're in combat and it can go to a random ally, it's still not bad. Dude, this trinket, it might be a must for most tanks. Like, I like this trinket a lot. Can't wait for Season 2 when this comes into the pool. Very cool trinket, in my opinion. I really like that. Alright, oh wait, did I get all of them? Nope. Bank Busby. Let's see. Alright, Ravenous Honey Buzzer. Call a ravenous ally and right off into the sunset. So it's going to be X number of yards or whatever is closest, inflicting fire damage split between all enemies you ride through. Wait a second. So this is going to give you mobility? Like, do you just want to, like, go straight up and then just dive bomb somebody? Huh. I need to see this. I need to see this one in action. Obviously, we won't see it for a while because not going to be in there. Haste first, two-handed mace. That's good mace. Another intellect dagger. Huh. Dude, I can't. Where is it at? I really want this trinket here. The Cinder Brew Stein. God, it's going to be... I love that trinket. All right, Old Waxbeard out of Dark Flame Cleft. So this is going to be another Season 2 dungeon, so... strength at one-handed axe is pretty good. All right. Conductor's Wax Whistle. Your attacks have a chance to direct a kobold cart towards your target, sending a careening troop that collides with enemies. Split between all enemies impacted. So just a passive, like... Hey, the shark comes in and does damage. Cool. Blazicon. You're supposed to have a chance to imbue the wax, causing it to form into a blazing candle for 15 seconds, which increases your versatility and further increased by 239 while you remain in its light. Potentially very bad depending on what happens with mechanics, but an interesting trinket, especially if your spec likes verse for any reason. The Candle King. Think we know what this one's about? Intellect axe. Okay, so shaman paladins. Alright. Carve a wax copy of your target, which absorbs 50% of their damage taken. The exhaustion heats up the wax, causing it to melt after absorbing a certain amount of damage. That sounds like a healer trinket. How good is it going to be? Interesting. I'm very curious as to how that one's going to work. Poleaxe of Somber Fate. Haste Mastery Strength one. Okay. Remnant of Darkness, another rogue dagger. This trinket, let's see. Your abilities have a chance to call the darkness to you, increasing your prime stat by 275. Basically stacks 11 times. Upon reaching full power, the darkness is unleashed, inflicting 1,000,000 shadow damage split between enemies. Dude, give me this on single target. Like, legitimately give me this on single target. Now, how fast does the stack build? Obviously. But I kind of want this on single target. Like, give me a trinket that does almost 2 million, and it's probably going to be more at higher eye levels. Give me a trinket that does almost 2 million damage on a target. Hell yeah, give that to me. Give me that on single target. Give me that on boss fights, man. And then, let's see. Nothing here else that I really want to go diving into. So, very cool with some of the loot there. I'm really curious. Like, the Cinder Brew dying out of the meter, I'm sad we won't see it for a while, but I really love that trinket. And the fact that it's only usable by tanks, like it has a tag that makes it only usable by tanks, is awesome. So, alright, let's see. New achievement for completing mythic dungeons with every roll. Well, I do this already, so... More achievements that are possibly require multiple characters. When it's in the Algarian Dungeoneers, requires you to complete a mystic dungeon each roll. I mean, specs like Druid, or classes like Druid, Monk, and Paladin can do this on one character. Achievement is supported by 3 others. Requires a mythic dungeon with each of the game's rolls. So you just do all the dungeons, basically. And then you get a versatile peddler transmog set. So, cool. So you get rewarded for experimenting with other roles. So if you're strictly a DPS player and you like this Mog, then you're going to be, encouraged to jump in and do tank or healer. If you're like me, you're probably getting this no matter what. That's pretty cool. I like that. All right, 6 new class ones. All right, let's start with, let's see. I'm only going to look at Sentinel and Master of Harmony because they're the only 2 that I know anything about. But we'll start with this. All right. Sentinel. This is from Marksmanship and Survival Hunter. Your attacks have a chance to apply Sentinel on the target, stacking up to 10 times. While Sentinel stacks are higher than 3, applying Sentinel has a chance to trigger an implosion, causing a stack to be consumed on the target every second to deal arcane damage. Okay, this could be great or it could suck. It depends on how quickly you can stack up to 10 times. We'll go down the left side, or we'll just do it left to right here. Each time Sentinel deals damage to an enemy, you gain an absorb shield up to max 10% of your maximum health. Cool. Extrapolated shots. When you apply Sentinel to a target not affected by Sentinel, you apply 1 additional stack. So when it says your attack, I'm assuming that means anything. So like Wildfire Bomb or like a trick-shotted aim shot could potentially apply stacks to the target. So you get 2 right off the bat. Interesting. Potentially. Aim shot and rapid fire deal increased damage. Mongoose Bite Wildfire Bomb deal increased 10% damage. Yeah, that's boring, but whatever. Every single tree has one of these. When you apply Sentinel on a target, you have a 15% chance to apply a second stack. So, like with this, does it have a chance to apply a 3rd or 4th stack? Potentially interesting. Get our first choice node, Catch Out. When a target affected by Sentinel deals damage to you, they are rooted for 3 seconds. PvP. When Sentinel starts dealing damage, the target is snared by 40% for 3 seconds. Both of these are kind of meh. I don't like either one of them, honestly. Like, a 40% slow is like, whatever. And, like, you have Tar Trap that does that trap better on a controlled instance. Like, both of these talent choice nodes are kind of shit. At least for PvE. The snare one for PvP might be good. Invigorating Pulse. Each time Sentinel deals damage to an enemy, it has a chance to generate up to 5 focus. Chances decrease with each additional Sentinel currently imploding applied to enemies. So it doesn't sound like 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, 90, and then eventually 105% chance. It's 15, and then it might be like 25, 30, 31, 32, 33, things like that. We'll have to figure out, like, what is the chances decrease scaling look like, because this could either be really good or really bad, and both specs do have points where they can sometimes focus starve if you play poorly, so anything that does good focus regen for both specs is good in my opinion. Sentinel Watch. Whenever a Sentinel deals damage, the cooldown of True Shot or Coordinated Assault is reduced by 1 second up to 15 seconds. okay. I don't think that's all that fun. Like, thing is True Shots and Coordinated Assault are both really messy cooldowns that cause a lot of problems in your spec sometimes. So having it more often is like probably fine, but probably not fine either. For 8 seconds after activating your cooldown, all abilities are guaranteed to apply Sentinel. That can be very good depending on the damage of Sentinel. We'll see. Symphonic Arsenal, cool name. Multi-shot causes any target affected by Sentinel to explode, dealing arcane damage up to 6 targets within 8 yards. Does it impact your stat count? If the answer is no, great. If the answer is yes, not great. Survival, multi-shot carve and butchery. You're not using multi-shot to do the same thing. So yeah, the question with this is, does it count against the number of stacks that you have already, or does it just do it? Just implodes the Sentinel. Because if it counts towards the stacks, against the stacks that you have, then things like this get affected, things like this get affected. Like it potentially is not as good as we think. If it doesn't count against the stacks and doesn't impact Invigorating Pulse, then this is just going to be free damage. It's really good. Overwatch. I see what you did there, Blizzard. All Sentinel debuffs implode when a target affected by more than 3 stacks falls below 20% health. So gives you like more execute range damage. Survival and marksmanship both have really strong kill shots already. So to have even more damage in your kill shot window, like, makes you a decent execute class. Ideally not the best one, because that should be warriors, but at least a decent one. Targets you damage below 20% health gain a stack of Sentinel every 3 seconds. So either you destroy it all, or you go. So Crescent Steel could be very good for raid situations where like the execute phase is the most important part, and there are a lot of fights where that's the case. So gaining more stack of Sentinels, which means more damage to pop, potentially is very good. Whereas Overwatch, I think, is going to be really good in Mythic Plus, where mobs generally, once they're below 20% health, they generally die very quickly. So being able to take advantage of your Sentinel stacks is pretty good. Lunar Storm. For every 15 seconds, your rapid fire or wildfire bomb summons a celestial owl that conjures a 10-yard radius lunar storm at the target's location for 8 seconds. Does it follow your target? That's always my question, because then this feels bad on Sanguine weeks. An enemy affected by Sentinel within your lunar storm gets struck for arcane damage every 0.4 seconds, and any target struck by this effect takes 10% increased damage from you and your pet for 8 seconds. Honestly, I don't hate this for marksmanship and survival. Like, I like it. Like, MM, I think, has got 2 decent trees, because I think Dark Ranger is actually not bad for marksmanship. Survival, Pack Hunter, I think, is fine for survival. It's bad for BM. Just fine for survival, but I think I kind of like this one a little bit more for Hunter. Curious. Overall, like, as someone that plays a lot of survival and is a fan of MM, like, I don't think this tree is bad. I don't think it does anything dramatic. It's all passive. Like, there's nothing active that you do. So you're just playing your normal rotation, and then sometimes you're going to get all this extra damage. That kind of is boring, but sometimes boring is okay. Like, I think this tree is probably, compared to others, is very mid, but compared to the other ones for Hunter, it might be the best one. We'll see. Curious. Very curious. I'm curious to go read some Hunter takes on this. Alright, now let's take a look at Master of Harmony. So this is for Brewmaster and Mistweaver Monk, so I'm very curious to see how this is going to interact with each other. Let's start at the top here, of course. Obviously, I main Monk, so we're going to be looking at this quite a bit. Aspect of Harmony. Store Vitality from 20% of your damage dealt, or 10% of your healing, and 10% of your healing, because I'm assuming this procs off Gift of the Ox, and Expel Harm. For 10 seconds after casting Celestial Brew, your spells and abilities draw upon the stored vitality to deal more damage over 8 seconds. So when you hit Celestial Brew, you're going to get a damage buff basically for the duration of Celestial Brew. Don't know how to feel about that. Celestial Brew's up fairly often, so it's not like this is... Like, Celestial Brew's base cooldown is 45 seconds, but through brew reduction, like, you get it up much sooner than that. It's really closer to, like, 20-ish. So, like, this is probably fine. Not exciting, but it's probably fine. For Mistweaver, it's 10% of your damage or 20% of your healing. And then after casting Thunder Focus Tea, you do additional healing over 8 seconds. So you're basically amplifying a window. And with Secret Infusion, like Secret Infusion Renewing Mist, for example, you're going to have a big haste window, so you can really take advantage of that. Like, it's pretty passive. Like, it's not something that you're going to notice, and you have a lot of things that amplify your healing already. Like, I don't think tracking this is going to be that important. Generally, it could be very important for something like your ramp window and like Yu'lon, where you potentially have some, giga potential, but it's fine. Chi Burst and Chi Wave deal 100% increased damage and healing, so you're trying to make those spells worth casting on both specs. Cool. Purified Spirit. So for Brewmaster, when Aspect of Harmony ends, any remaining vitalities are released as damage over 8 seconds, split amongst all nearby enemies. Wait. So there's a potential that this doesn't even release the entire amount that you've stored up? What? Oh, now you have to track this. That's cringe. I mean, you get a burst of damage or burst of healing. Like, for Mistweaver, that doesn't do anything because, like, you don't care about your mastery. Like, it doesn't proc your mastery, so who cares? But, like, that's kind of cringe, dude. Like, just drain it all and let it do everything. Whatever. Harmonic Gambit. During Aspect of Harmony, Expel, Harm, and Vivify would draw Vitality to heal. But, huh? Does it enhance those spells then? Because, like, if it's Expel Harm does a lot of healing already. Because you have talents that make it basically like WoG for Paladins. It's a borderline lay on hands. So if it withdraws Vitality to also heal, does it also, like, do extra healing on top of everything that you already have? If that's the case, then this is mega sustain for Brewmaster. If it doesn't enhance, it just takes on that pool that you have, this is really, really shit. Mistweaver. Rising Sun Kick, Blackout Kick, and Tiger Palm also withdraw Vitality to damage enemies. So then, like... So you're just gonna have to track this thing. That's cringe, dude. I don't know if I like this so far. Casting a physical spell or ability increases the damage and healing of your next fire or nature spell or ability by 5%, and vice versa. Stacks up to 5. What? Like, you're Breath of Firing a lot. Like, you're never gonna get the 25% damage on this, I don't think. I mean, Brewmaster you could, because you Keg Smash, Breath of Fire, and then you can Blackout Kick, Rising Sun Kick, Keg Smash again, Blackout Kick again. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Keg Smash again, and then get your Breath of Fire charged up that way. So it makes you delay Breath of Fire as a Brewmaster. I'm not sure how this is going to look at for Mistweaver. And also, like, it says vice versa, so, like, your next fire damage increases by 5%, so when you Breath of Fire, you're going to want to Keg Smash right after that, because it hits the hardest. I don't know if I like that. Tiger's Vigor. Casting Tiger's Lust reduces the remaining cooldown on roll by 5 seconds. I don't hate that. Tiger's Lust grants 20% speed up to 2 allies near its target. So Roar from the Heavens is an old Torghast power, where when you cast Tiger's Lust, it also gave it to everyone in your party. That's fine. I think Tiger's Vigor is probably going to be taken more often, but it entirely depends on fight makeup for raid. Extra charges of Celestial Brew and Thunder Focus Tea. Okay, so that makes your Aspect of the Harmony much more steady. But again, you're going to have to track how much, like, how much can you store? Like, if the number's infinite, then you're going to delay using your stuff as long as you can. If it caps at a certain amount, then you have to track what that number is and then use your Celestial Brew. And then you can cast it up again and... Mantra of Purity. Purifying Brew removes 10% additional stagger and causes you to absorb up to some of the incoming stagger. That's powerful. Then, let me just look at Mantra of Tenacity for Brewmaster real quick. Fort Brew applies a Chi Cocoon. Okay, so Chi Cocoon, if it's anything like Life Cocoon, then it could be very good. It could be very bad. Like, it entirely depends. Alright. Sorry, I was checking out a couple things in Discord. Anyways. I think Mantra of Purity is going to be really good for Brewmaster. Like, that's really, really good. Mistweaver, when cast on yourself, your single target healing spells heal for 10% more and grant a heal over 15 seconds. That's kind of whatever. Like, you're going to have you really only benefit this from renewing Mists on yourself. But Fort Brew granting a 20% stagger, that's probably not bad. We'll see. I really like Mantra of Purity for Brewmaster, though. Alright, Overwhelming Force. RSK, Blackout Kick, and Tiger Palm damage enemies on a line through their primary target. Cool. I'm alright with that. It's passive damage. Path of Resurgence. Chi Burst. Increased Vitality stored by 25% for 10 seconds. So when you Chi Burst, you get more Vitality stored. For a short window of time. I don't like that. And then Rise of the Sun Kick, Blackout Kick, and Tiger Palm contribute 50% additional Vitality. I think you're just going to take that all the time. Clarity of Purpose. Casting Purifying Brew stores Vitality, increased based on stagger level. Very cool. Casting Vivify stores Vitality, increased based on recent Gust of Mists. Don't know if I like that much. Resonance. When Aspect of Harmony deals damage, it has a chance to spread to a nearby enemy. When you directly attack an affected target, it has a chance to intensify. Okay, sure. When Aspect of Harmony heals, it has a chance to spread to a nearby enemy. When you directly heal an affected target, it has a chance to intensify. Targets damage or healed by your Aspect of Harmony take 10% increased damage or healing. So the thing I don't like about this tree is that it does almost nothing for Mistweaver damage. Like, there's no Ancient Teachings, Interplay. Like, I feel like just the Celestial one is just going to be better. And for Brewmaster, I think I like Shadowpan better overall. This tree's kind of disappointing. I'm not super thrilled with it on first impression. I'll do some digging, try to figure out exactly how these work, but I'm not too thrilled with it immediately. So. Finisk. Finn, thank you very much for the follow on Twitch. I appreciate that. Apologies that you come in right now. I've got to go to the restroom real quick, but take a break, and then we're going to talk about one of the big things I'm most excited about. We'll talk about monks, we'll talk about druids, and then go from there. Alright. We are back. Alright. Alright. Class and talent tree reworks. Hey, Finn. Appreciate the subscription, buddy. I thank you very much for that. Thank you for using your Prime on that. Thanks for the Twitch Prime, my man. Let's talk about some monk class changes, huh? Alright, we'll pull, I think I've got the trees pulled up somewhere in here. Let's see. Yeah, I got the trees pulled open on this last tab here. No, I won't make it rain for you. Fair. That's fine. I appreciate everything that you've already done to support me, my man. I appreciate that a lot. Let's get into fun stuff, right? Let's talk about some monk. Alright, new talents. I'm looking at these in a vacuum, and then we'll see how they function in the tree. Crashing Momentum. Targets you rolled through are snared by 40% for 5 seconds. Could be good in Mythic Plus. Depends entirely upon dungeon design. Wind's Reach. The range of Disable is increased by 5 yards. I think this is more for PvP because we don't really use Disable a ton right now in PvE. There's like some very niche uses, but not a lot. But getting an extra 5 yards of range is going to be big for PvP. The duration of Crashing Momentum is increased by 3 seconds, and Snare now reduces the movement speed by an additional 20%. I'm assuming Crashing Momentum is something else in this tree. We'll find out. Bounding Agility. Roll and Chi Torpedo travel a small distance further. Again, this could be really good or really bad. I have definitely chi torpedoed off platforms more than I care to count, and given me extra range on my roll to be able to do the exact same thing. Potentially not great. Depends largely on where it's at in the tree. If it's in a good place in the tree, it might be worth taking, but if it's like where like the improved roll charge is at right now, probably very skippable. Jade Walk, while out of combat, your movement speed is increased by 15%. Okay, I guess. Huh? Sure. Paralysis now removes all enrage effects from its targets. That's cool. Windwalker or Monk just got soothed, y'all. It got soothed on its CC. That means you can dispel raging. Even if, now the question is, does it have to paralyze the mob in order to get the soothe off? If the answer to that is yes, this is bad. But if it like just using paralysis gives you is a soothe, like dude, you can dispel enraging, dispel raging affects. You can deal with like the mobs in Ataldazar that rage like that. Oh man, like dude, that's giga. I like it. Ancient Art reduces the cooldown of paralysis by 15 seconds, which is kind of what the improved paralysis talent right here is anyways. And the cooldown of Leg Sweep by 5 or 10 seconds. So you get Tiger Tail Sweep built into this too. I like that. That's good. I like that change. Condensing some points. I like it. Alright. Energy Transfer. Successfully interrupting an enemy reduces the cooldown of paralysis and roll by 5 seconds. Okay, so this actually is either going to be incredibly good, depending on dungeon design, or it might not be that good. Depending on the tree's setup, you probably take it. But I like that it's not an auto pick every time. Like, I mean, getting roll cooldown is pretty good. Like, dude, we're gonna be rolling all over the place. It's gonna be awesome. Very curious. Quick-footed, the duration of snare effects on you is reduced by 20%. That's actually potentially, even in PvE, very good depending on mechanic design. Awesome. Spirit's Essence. Transcendence transfers snares targets within 10 yards by 70% for 4 seconds when cast. I think that's a PvP thing. I don't really see use for that unless you are just like as a Brewmaster, like you could potentially go set up like a Transcendence, like, hey, I'm gonna snare and run out because we need to. Interesting. I don't know how useful that's gonna be for PvE. PvP is probably giga. We'll see. Peach and Prosperity. Peach and Prosperity? Is that correct? Reduces the cooldown of Ring of Peace by 5 seconds. Bruh, what's Ring of Peace's cooldown right now? 45 seconds. So getting Ring of Peace on a 40-second cooldown, probably not giga, but good. And I don't know the last time we used Song of Chi-Ji, so I don't care about that. Swift Art. Roll removes a snare effect once every 30 seconds. Dude, that could also be really nice if you're in an area that has a lot of PvE snares. Last boss of Azure Vault, for example, when it was in Season 1, like had that snare. Being able to remove that. Removing Entangling once every 30 seconds is good, even though typically you can just Tiger's Lust it. But if you can remove it off yourself with roll, that allows you to Tiger's Lust someone else. So that's potentially very good. I kind of like that, actually. Celestial Determination. While your Celestial is active, you cannot be slowed below 90% normal movement speed. I like it. I like that a lot. Again, this in PvP is going to be giga. In PvE, it's entirely dependent on what type of slows there are out there. Chi Proficiency. Magical damage done increased by 2-4%, and healing done increased by 2-4%. So immediately thinking, obviously, the healing done will be good for Mistweaver, magical damage, and honestly good for Brewmaster as well, because it in fact things like Gift of the Ox and Expel Harm. The magical damage done is for Mistweaver. Outside of maybe Jadefire Stomp, I don't know what kind of magical damage. I'm not thinking of any. I mean, Chi Burst or Chi Wave. Magical damage for Brewmaster, very good, because you do a lot of fire damage in the kit. Magical damage for Windwalker, there's some lightning damage through Zhuen. so potentially decent there. Probably a talent that you'll just grab along the way. But the healing done on yourself is going to be big because that affects, I'm assuming, expel harm, self vivifies, um, things like that. Healing Winds, Transcendence Transfer immediately heals you for 15% of your maximum health. Whoa. Whoa. Uh, Interesting. So I'm making Transcendence. Wait, these same removes, Tiger Lust confirmed to still remove it. As far as I know, yes. Obviously, I'm just looking at the talents in a vacuum, so I don't know exactly if Tiger's Lust is even still around. We'll see. But like, if you have multiple, like with Quick Footed, for example, or was it with Swift Art, for example, if you like think of Entangling Week, if you know like, hey, I'm on my 30-second, my next roll is going to remove a snare, you can remove that and then target someone else with a Tiger's Lust and help them remove it. So you could target like a healer or a caster so that they don't lose DPS or healing uptime trying to move. Like potentially really, really good group utility. G proficiency, I think, will be like a must take on Brewmaster. Like this just screams Brewmaster to me because you have a lot of fire damage, a lot of healing needs with Gift of Celestials and your orbs. Potentially good for Mistweaver depending on magical damage. Like I said, I think it's only Chi Wave and Jade Fire Stomp, and I don't know outside of Juen. I'm not thinking of anything specific that Windwalker does. I mean, obviously Jade Fire if you talent it. We'll see. Transcendence Transfer giving you 15% HP healing is really interesting and potentially like makes, if you can use this effectively, you are like, it probably takes a little bit of giga braining and some smart setup and understanding of damage patterns, but being able to Transcendence out and getting a 15% HP buff on yourself is probably like really, really good. Like really good. That's a lot of HP. It's a lot of HP. All right, Martial Instincts increases your physical damage done by 2% and avoidance increased by 2%. I think you probably are going to, if it's in a good place, you take that all the time. Lighter Than Air. Roll causes you to become lighter than air, allowing you to double jump to dash for... Whoa, 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 whoa. Wait a second. We're going to get fucking... I play Overwatch, so to me, I'm thinking immediately like Hanzo Dash or Lifeweaver Dash, where you can double jump and you dash forward a short distance. Like you can roll and then double jump, and like obviously we'll have to see how far this dash is, but like if you could roll and then dash forward with the double jump, like bro, there could be some hysterical clips that come out of this. Oh man, I'm excited by that actually. You get a good escape tool if you need it. You get a good catch up to your tank because your Vengeance Demon Hunter double Infernal Strike all the way out into the ether. You get, hey, I gotta run away from this mechanic. I can close the gap faster. There are a lot of mechanics, for example, where Transcendence cooldown won't be up. So think of like, what's the... I'll just use an example from Neltharis, Magma Tusk. So say like you're sending your charge back and forth across the room. You can only Transcendence the first, but now you can all of a sudden roll and double jump to dash to close the gap quickly on the second charge while your Transcendence is still on cooldown. And then Transcendence again, like on the third one. Like that makes your ability to maintain uptime potentially really good. I really like this talent. I really, really like this talent. And then Flow of Chi, you gain a bonus effect based on your current health. If you're over 90%, you gain a movement speed bonus, which stacks with things like wind walking. That could be very interesting. If you're mid-level health between 90 and 35, you just get a DR by 5%. Hell yeah. And below 35%, you get increased healing. That one's kind of meh. But like these two, I really, really like that. Really, really like that. Like, dude, this is really, really good. Man, do I like this a lot. Transcendence Linked Spirits. Transcendence now tethers your spirit to an ally for an hour, and you can teleport to your... So you get Swap Blaster? Like, I know Valen kind of told me about this, my guildmate. Like, he told me you could teleport to your ally's location. Like, dude, this has troll potential out the ass, man. This has troll potential out the ass. I kind of want to fuck with my brother on this. My brother who plays Priest and has life gripped me into lava more than I care to count. I can now just Transcendence with him off the fucking platform. So probably going to be useful for like trolling while we're getting prepped for bosses, but I don't know if this is going to be great during boss fights or anything like that. But some real potential for some just shithousery going down in the open world, and I kind of love it. Rushing reflexes. Your heightened reflexes allow you to react swiftly to the presence of enemies, causing you to quickly lunge to the nearest enemy in front of you within 10 yards after you roll. Wait. So between lighter than air, rushing reflexes, transcendence, roll going further, who's going to escape you? How is anyone going to get away from a Windwalker now? Dude, like this is going to be kind of fucked in PvP. Clash is now in the Clash tree. I hate Clash, so I probably won't talent it. And then Chi Wave has been reworked. Okay, interesting. So right now, for anyone that doesn't play Monk, Chi Wave is an ability that you can take in the Clash tree where basically it's an active ability. You send out a Chi Wave, you just basically use it on cooldown every 15 seconds, and it bounces off you or any target nearby. It does a little bit of damage, a little bit of healing. It's kind of RNG. It's not a great ability. I use it mainly as a pool tool on Monk on my Brewmaster. Don't really use it beyond that, but in Chi Wave for like Mistweaver and Windwalker is pretty fucked. Like you don't really use it at all. So we'll see. I'm gonna go back and just replay this so I have some noise in my ears. Alright. So every 15 seconds, your next Rising Sun Kick or Vivify releases a wave of chi energy that flows through friends and foes, dealing nature damage or healing, bounces. Okay, so it just makes it so that whenever you Rising Sun Kick every 15 seconds, you're going to do shit. Now, Rising Sun Kick for Windwalker and Brewmaster is on like a 12-second cooldown. So, like, every other Rising Sun Kick probably, well, for Windwalker, it's not going to be every other Rising Sun Kick because you can get resets on Blackout Kick. Same with Mistweaver. For Brewmaster, you don't have anything that resets your timer, so it's basically every other Rising Sun Kick. And even then, Rising Sun Kick is not a high priority for Brewmaster, so you could potentially get a Chi Wave on every Rising Sun Kick as Brewmaster. Not going to be the case on Windwalker or Mistweaver because of the reset mechanics, but I like that Chi Wave is now a passive ability. It makes it a little more friendly. And hey, a button gone for Brewmaster. I'm down with that. Talent removals. The Monk class tree has almost been completely reworked. We'll cover big removals and changes, but look at the images for specific positions. Dampen Harm has been moved to Brewmaster baseline, so no more for Windwalker or Mistweaver. Little sad. White Tiger statue is now only Windwalker. Okay, that's fine. I wasn't using it on either of my other specs, so I don't care. And Summon Blackhawk statue is now baseline for Brewmaster, but I thought I saw it in the tree. What? Okay, never mind. Okay. So we lost a button in Chi Wave, because we always talented the Chi Wave, but now we're getting Blackhawk statue, so I haven't freed up a keybind yet. That's a problem. Class and talent tuning. Elusive Mists, which is a class tree talent, which wasn't, I mean, nobody really used it. But they did buff it to make it 6% reduced damage to you and your target was 3. I don't even think I use this in a Clouded Focus build, so it's kind of whatever. I don't care. But Vivify getting a healing buff and a mana cost reduction. Big fan of that. Bounce Back, which is down here, this part of the tree. Procced off of going below a certain threshold. It's now even lower to 12% versus 20. But reduces damage by 20% for 1 talent point versus it being 2. So that's a talent point freed up. Great. Chi Burst damage got a big damage buff and a big healing buff. Cool. Again, Windwalker and Mistweaver use that quite a bit, so good for them. It's a damage buff. Expeditious Fortification. Cooldown reduction reduced to 30 seconds instead of 2 minutes for Windwalker and Mistweaver. Great, now you just don't pick it. Like, you just skip the talent entirely. Like, you just take Fort Brew. You maybe don't even take Fort Brew. Like, you just skip this part of the tree as Windwalker and Mistweaver now. Like, Fort Bruce sucks as a cooldown. Now, with Dampen Harm being gone, you might be forced to take it just to give you something, but, like, interesting. Kind of mixed on that one. Fast Feet is now a 1 talent point, good. Fatal Touch now requires 1 talent point, good. And increases damage by 5% for 30 seconds after being cast. So that encourages you actually to Touch of Death early in a boss kill window because you get the extra damage for that 30. Like, you're going to want a Touch of Death right at the beginning of the execute window on a boss so that you get that extra 5% damage for the next 30 seconds. And typically in that 30-second window, you should kill a boss. So it's 5% more damage below 15%. Probably good for raid. For Mythic Plus, this is probably Garbo. Grace of the Crane, which is basically increased all your healing. It's now from 8% for 2 points. It's now 1% for 6% for 1 talent point. Fine. Iron Shell Brew increases your maximum health and damage reduction by 10%. Okay, now that makes Iron Shell Brew probably worth for Monk, but I mean, it's still like a 7-minute cooldown or some dumb shit like that for Windwalker and Mistweaver. Fine. Resonant Fist now being 1 talent point and Save Them All being 1 talent point. Great. And Tiger Tail Sweep got adjusted to only increase the range by 4 yards for 1 talent point. You're still probably not taking it, so that's fine. Alright. So that's the class tree. Now let's look at Mistweaver. Again, we're looking at these in a vacuum, and then we'll go play with the talent trees and Wowhead. Crane style. Rising Sun Kick now kicks up a Gust of Mist to heal 2 allies within 40 seconds. Wait, kicks up your mastery? And then Blackout Kick and Spinning Crane Kick can do it within 1 ally within 40 yards. So that actually might make mastery a little bit better now. Which is smart, because Mistweavers don't really care about their mastery right now. But if your damage abilities now proc a mastery, all of a sudden your mastery might be better. Interesting. Zen Pulse is now, instead of an active ability, is now passive. Renewing Mist heal over time has a chance to cause your next Vivify to also trigger a Zen Pulse on its target, and on all allies with Renewing Mist, healing them increased by 6% per Renewing Mist active, up to 30%. So Zen Pulse right now basically just does damage, and ally gets healed for a little bit. Now this is basically just going to make it so that your Vivify Cleave can basically proc a Zen Pulse heal. Now, you know, this actually could be really interesting because you have like a melee stat group. If it does the Zen Pulse and does the healing and the damage, like that triggers off of itself quite a bit. That could be decent damage off of a Zen Pulse. Like, actually might be really good damage off of Zen Pulse. Interesting. We'll have to play with it. Chi Harmony. Renewing Mist applies Chi Harmony to its initial target, increasing the healing taken from you by 50% for 8 seconds. And this replaces the Energizer Brew Life Cycle's Choice Node. Good. I hated both of these, so good riddance. And Chi Harmony actually is, like, I think that's our Season 3 tier set right now. So they're integrating the tier set into the tree. Great. Essence Font and Font of Life removed. Great. Thunder Focus Tea was moved to Essence Font, so it's moved way up the tree to make it easier to access. Good. Or it was moved up 1 row, rather. Mana Tea was moved over to where Thunder Focus Tea is at. Good. Healing Elixir is now in the Mana Tea location. Healing Elixir is taken in a lot of builds, so that's fine. Oh, it took the location of it, and then this life cycle node got moved up. Okay. Echoing Reverberation removed. Fine. Clouded Focus removed. Hell yeah, baby. Get out of here. I fucking hate you, Clouded Focus. And Peer into Peace, which is a new talent that was introduced in the last patch. And Ancient Teachings, which is your damage to healing conversion. Location swaps and connection no longer exist. I'll be curious to see how that looks. Mastery Gust of Mist now includes Rise of the Sun Kick and Jade Fire Stomp. That's cool. That's actually very cool. Invigorating Mist healing buffed by 40%. Nice. Jade Bond, Chi-Chi's healing is increased by 40%. And Yulon Soothing Breath increased by 300%. So they reworked the talent just to make... like, so Jade Bond, I think, was talent choice node. I think it was, yeah, talent choice node here with Gift of Celestials. So you either got more Celestials. Now this is just going to make your Celestials when they're out more powerful. I think more Celestials is still going to be better, but this is a positive change. Resplendent Mist. Gust of Mist has a 30% chance to do more healing, so they kind of tweak the numbers on it with the change to Gust of Mist, including your ability damage, so they probably need to just balance it out. I think that's fine. Overall, most of the positive changes. I think all of these are good. I still kind of hate that Energizing Brew Life Cycles is around. Essence Font being gone, Clouded Focus being gone, Font of Life being gone. I'm fucking happy about all of that. I love all of those are gone. So honestly, I'm going to call it a win. I think it's a win for Mistweaver. Windwalker. I've heard a lot of people very excited about this. So let's see. Momentum boost. Fist of Fury damage is increased by 100% of your haste, and Fist of Fury does 10% more damage each time it deals damage, resetting when Fist of Fury ends. That's fine. Your auto attack speed is increased by 60% for 8 seconds after Fist of Fury ends, which replaces Touch of Karma. So we're losing Karma. It says it replaces Touch of Karma. So is Karma going baseline, or are we losing it? Because if we're losing it, that's bad. Karma's actually good. I actually like Karma. But this does give Windwalkers some haste scaling, potentially. Because the more haste you have, the more Fist of Fury damage you have. So, like, you're still not going to go chase haste. But it doesn't feel bad to have it now. All of a sudden, those haste verse pieces that I saw earlier on stream are quite good. They're better, at least. Alright, Acclamation. So Power Strikes, which basically made it so that you'd always get the extra chi. Rising Sun Kick increases the damage your target receives from you by 4% for 12 seconds. Multiple instances may overlap. Cool. Probably doesn't change much. I kind of hate that Power Strikes is potentially going away. Because, like, you need the chi generation. But if they're trying to steady out your chi generation, then... I mean, even really, Power Strikes didn't make it unpredictable. You knew when you were getting that third chi. Okay. Rising Sun Kick keeps increasing the damage your target receives by 4%. If they overlap, does that mean like durations overlap, and does it stack? So like if you have 2 of them, do you get 8% damage? Or does it last for like 24 seconds? Like, what do you mean by overlap? I'll be curious to see how that works. Dual Threat. Your auto attacks have a 20% chance to instead kick your target, dealing physical damage and increasing their damage dealt by 5% for 5 seconds. This replaces Open Palm Strikes. Open Palm Strikes being gone makes sense because Momentum Boost is being put in. But again, auto attack, which means auto attack doing more damage, which means that dual wield builds become much more viable. Haste becomes much more viable. Like, they're trying to do something to make Windwalker scale with haste a little bit better. I don't know how effective these are going to be without playing them, but on the surface, it seems like a decent idea, but I want to see how it goes in practice. Brawler's Intensity. The cooldown of Rising Sun Kick is reduced by 1 second, and the damage of Blackout Kick is increased by 10%. You're probably just going to take that all the time. Ordered Elements. During Storm, Earth, and Fire, Rising Sun Kick reduces chi cost by 1 for 5 seconds, and Blackout Kick reduces the cooldown of affected abilities by additional 1 second. And then activating the ability resets the remaining cooldown of Rising Sun Kick and grants 2 chi. Holy shit, that does a lot. And it replaces Spiritual Focus. Fuck off, Spiritual Focus. Hate you. This is awesome. So this makes it so that using Storm, Earth, and Fire on cooldown or gives you the 2 chi. You can immediately Rising Sun Kick to get the chi cost reduction, and that'll allow you to free Blackout Kick almost immediately, which means you can then get the addition. Like, there's some really nice gameplay loop inside of Storm, Earth, and Fire that I'm a big... SEF has its issues, but I'm a big SEF fan. At least I've become a big SEF fan. I hated it in BFA and Shadowlands, but over the course of Dragonflight, like, I've kind of come to like it. So the fact that now it has this really interesting gameplay loop attached to it, beyond just pop them, you get a threat reduction, and you do more damage across the board. Like, now you're getting some really cool stuff. And does the Rising Sun Kick chi costs stack with your when your guys replicate your abilities? Does a Blackout Kick cooldown reduction replicate the abilities? If that's the case, it could be very, very cool. Courageous Impulse. The Blackout Kick passive effect would basically your abilities have a chance to make your next Blackout Kick completely free and deal a little bit more damage. Now it does 175% and gets rid of and replaces. It takes the location of Dance of Chi-Chi. Okay, so that sounds like Dance of Chi-Chi is still around, just moved to a different spot. Courageous Impulse, that's going to be very good. Blackout Kick is a big part of your damage kit, especially right now with the current tier set. And depending on how they design the tier sets, this could continue to be the case. But I mean, getting a massive blackout kick on your free one, like this basically just takes the tier set and bakes it into your talent tree, which I think is a good idea. Blackout kick increases the damage of your tiger palms by 10%, stacking up to 12 times. Whatever. I don't think that's going to be all that great. Because you don't, like, if Serenity is around still, then this potentially has some play. Because you don't tiger palm at all during your Serenity window, and you absolutely spend blackout kick quite a lot in Serenity windows. So that has a potential to be a thing, but I don't see it seeing a lot of play, especially with SEF being what looks to be like a very, very good cooldown. Energy Burst. When you consume the Blackout Kick passive, you have a 100% chance to generate a chi. Awesome. And it replaces Forbidden Technique, which makes it so that you can use it twice within 5 seconds. Great. I see that they're cutting back on Touch of Death talents. I'm a fan. Fuck Touch of Death builds. Rushing Jade Wind is a passive now. Alright, Strike of the Windlord applies Mark of the Crane to all of the enemies struck. Great. And summons a whirling tornado around you, causing physical damage over 6 seconds to all enemies within 8 yards. So basically, when you Strike of the Windlord, you get an RJW. That is cool. That is great damage in AoE. It is probably pretty decent damage in single target, and now makes Rushing Jade Wind a very, very viable pick in the tree. I love this. And Rushing Jade Wind, like, outside of Brewmaster, like, you don't use it on the other specs, but Rushing Jade Wind is a cool animation, so I'm a fan. Sequence Strikes. You have a 100% chance to gain Blackout Kick passive after consuming a Dance of Chi-Ji. So you get a free Spinning Crane Kick into a free free Blackout Kick that does 175% more damage. Some very interesting AoE implications there. Gale Force. New talent. Targets struck by Strike of the Windlord are sent reeling from its impact, causing them to become vulnerable to your attacks for 10 seconds. Your abilities have a 100% chance to affect the target a second time at 10% effectiveness as nature damage while they're vulnerable. That is fucking cool. I like that. Now make Strike of the Windlord the most important thing to use in your kit, because then you're getting Giga Rising Sun Kick, Giga Blackout Kicks, Giga Spinning Crane Kicks doing even more damage. Like, awesome. I love this. Hopefully it replaces the this talent. Yeah, it's right where I thought it was going to be. It places this talent here. Love Gale. I like this. You take Improve Strike of the Windlord in all your talent builds now, so this basically just makes it so you grab Gale Force in all your builds. Great. Communion with the Wind gives you reduced cooldown of Strike of the Windlords and deals increased damage. I think you're going to take this because Strike of the Windlords feels like it's going to be a very, very powerful ability. And I just get the hunch that they're going to build a tier set around it. Revolving Whirl. Whirling Dragon Punch has a 100% chance to activate Dance of Chi-Ji. Are they going to make Whirling Dragon Punch a thing again? Because if you can Rising Sun Kick, Fist of Fury at Giga damage because of Momentum Boost, you get extra damage on that because of your Haste proc. You can then Whirling Dragon Punch, guarantee a Dance of Chi-Ji proc, get the big damage off of that, which also guarantees your Blackout Kick proc, which does 175% more damage, with Shadow Boxing Tregs doing multiple... Oh my god. Dude. That is amazing. Like, this could be good in single target and AoE. That's the wild fucking thing about it. Alright. Knowledge of the Broken Temple. Whirling Dragon Punch grants 4 stacks of Teachings of the Monastery, and its damage increased by 20%. Teachings of the Monastery can now stack up to 8 times. So Teachings of the Monastery is a passive given to Windwalkers in Dragonflight that basically made it so when you Tiger Palmed, you stacked up a passive on your Blackout Kick that made it hit additional times. It capped at 3. Now you're going to be able to stack it up to 8 times, so you're going to get 8 hits of Blackout Kick just for Whirling, or get 4 hits just for Whirling Dragon Punching, but potentially up to 8 hits. Like, the single target damage potentially is bananas. Because then you consider, again, Revolving Whirl. You get the Dance of Chi-Ji proc, which, I mean, extra Spinning Crane Kick damage, which gives you the enhanced Blackout Kick proc. That Blackout Kick proc probably only is going to affect the first hit, because that's what the tier set does. But that first hit is 175% damage in a Strike of the Windlord Oh my god, my brain is all over the... Dude, Windwalker might be fixed, guys. When Singularity Focus Jade Firestomp's initial hit now strikes one target but deals 500 additional damage and healing. Great, they just made single target Jade Firestomp. Awesome. Let's see. There were a lot of talents moved on the Windwalker tree. Please use the above image for most spells, but we'll highlight some of the big ones. Widening Whirl removed. Fine. Serenity removed. Fuck off, Serenity. Spiritual Focus and Drinking Horn cover. Now a choice hit on row 6. Shit. I thought Spiritual Focus was gone. Whatever. Sky Reach removed. Cool. And Bone Dust Brew and its related talents removed. Goodbye, Bone Dust Brew. Please fuck off. Alright. Mastery Combo Strikes buffed by 20% and now does 12% more damage at a baseline versus 10%. So it makes Mastery Scaling a little bit better. Spinning Crane Kick just gets a passive 20% damage buff, it sounds like. Cool. Crane Vortex does 15 and 30 instead of 10, 20, so that talent got buffed. Dance of TG did get reduced on RPPM, which is probably fine considering everything that it does. Oh, what? Oh, the damage was removed, but the mobility is still there. Oh, my heart went gone for a second. Oh my god. I'm alright with the damage being removed. It did like no damage. It was always about the mobility with Flying Serpent Kick. I can still get one shot by bosses. Glory of the Dawn now has a chance to equal 100% of your haste. Now it has a chance to equal to 100% of your haste to trigger instead of just a flat 25%. Okay, it's official. Agility monks now want, or Windwalker monks now want haste. Probably not as the number one stat, but like, you're probably gonna chase. Like, based off my initial thoughts, obviously I want to get it played out, and we'll get some math crunching as we get through the phase. But now it just kind of makes item level the thing for Windwalker. That's kind of cool. Hardened Souls now increases crit chance by 5% and crit damage by 10% for 1 talent point versus 4/8 for 2. So it got a buff and a point reduction. Great. Inner Peace, no one took this, so I don't fucking care. Jade Firestomp no longer can reset the cooldown, but now increases movement speed by 20% while inside the area. I don't know what to make of that. I mean, you get Singularity Focus Jade, which is good. Like, it's in this choice node. You still have this talent as well, giving you the damage buff to it. So you don't maintain the damage buff all the time. That probably is decent for some quality of life because you don't have to stress about the damage buff. Interesting. I'll have to play that. Mark of the Crane can only apply to the primary target. I'm curious to know what that means because Strike of the Windlord applies Mark of the Crane to all targets. So I don't know what to make of this. Power Strikes now casts Expel Harm. What? I'll have to look at that. Teaching of the Monastery now stacks to 4 versus 3. I kind of knew that with the Whirling Dragon Punch. Thunder Fist now baseline gives you 4 stacks. Okay, so you get 4 stacks of Thunder Fist no matter what. Okay. Touch of the Tiger now gives you 25% damage for 1 talent point. Whatever. Transfer the Power now also triggers off Spinning Crane Kick. Okay. I like that. The Whirling Dragon Punch cooldown increased to 30 seconds, but the damage was increased by 52%. Primary target now takes triple... Whirling Dragon Punch is back, y'all. It's back. Please don't animation lock it, Blizzard. Let us move. But Whirling Dragon Punch is back. Great. Awesome. Yo, Windwalker, guys. Dude, I'm excited. I'm really excited about some fucking Windwalker now, man. I gotta go. I know Max is probably playing it on stream. I want to go look this up. I'm gonna go watch this and go check out Peak and see what's going on. Because, yo, I love these changes. Like, almost nothing that I don't like. Mark of the Crane, Power Strikes, these are weird. I need to get understanding of them. And Jade Firestomp, like, these 3 are weird. But, like, I can't say they're bad because I don't know if they are. But the rest of these, whoever sat down and learned Windwalker Monk this season so that you could make these changes, I love you, developer. Like, giving you all the hearts. Because, dog, this is fucking amazing. Amazing. Very, very cool. Man. Serenity removed. We love it. Alright. Let's go check out Druid. I'm curious. Obviously, I play a lot of Druid. Druid's like my main alt character here, so we're going to take a look and see what is going on here. Alright, so in a vacuum, let's look at Druid. Fluid form. Shredded Rake can be used in any form and shift you into cat form. Mango can be used in any form and shift you into bear form. Wrath of Starfire shift you into Moonkin form if known. So now you have to have more keybinds. I don't know if I like that. Oak Skin. Survival Instincts and Bark Skin reduce damage taken by an additional 10%. Cool. Instincts of the Claws. Basically, all the agility damage increased by 5 or 10%. Fine. Sure. And then Moonfire, Sunfire damage increased. Rejuvenation, Wild Growth, Healing increased. Sure. Fine. Simple. Stamina and Boar form increased by 10%. Great. Bears are like that. I already have more health in bear form than I do in fucking cat form, or on my Brewmaster, which is 10 item levels higher, so great. Starlight Conduit. Wrath, Star Surge, and Starfire damage increased by 5%. Star Surge's cooldown is reduced by 4 seconds, and its mana cost is reduced by 50%. I didn't even know Star Surge had a mana cost to it. Okay. The Druid class tree has almost been completely reworked. Recover the big removals and changes, and look at the images for Sans. Tireless Pursuit, which gave you speed after leaving cat form, is gone. Fine. Moonkin form is now baseline for Balanced Druid. Great. Swift Mend is now Rusted Druid baseline. Great. Feline Swiftness got a point reduction. Awesome. Lakar's Teachings is now a 2-point node. Fucking finally. It was one of the only 3-point nodes left in the game. Fuck off, 3-point nodes. Forest Walk now increases your movement speed and healing received by 8% for 6 seconds, was 5% for 6 seconds with 2 points. Probably still not going to use a lot, like Feral might use it because of the healing received. But like other specs, I just don't see it. Astral Influence is now 1 point for 5 yards. Awesome. Lose a yard, but you'd save a point. I think that's worth. Thick-Hide reduces damage by 4% for 1 point. That's a net buff. I'll take it. Improved Swipe, gone. Great. And Protector of the Pack, gone. Great. It was kind of shit. So, overall, the class tree, some of these changes are good. I'm kind of looking at this tree without digging too deep into it. I don't know how good this is going to be. Like I'm looking here, remove corruption being very difficult to get still. Like, actually, may not be that bad. We'll see. I'll play with it. Alright, balance. New abilities. Stellar Amplification. Star Surge increases the damage the target takes from your periodic effects and shooting stars by 12% for 5 seconds. Replaces Stellar Innervation, which basically just gave you Astral Power Generation. Reapplying this effect extends its duration up to 20 seconds. Okay, cool. So it just makes single target, Star Surge, spam useful. Greater Alignment. Incarnation Chosen of Elune and Celestial Alignment lasts 40% longer. Cool. Solar Eclipse increases nature damage done by additional 5%. Lunar increase its damage done by arcane damage done by an additional 5%. Replaces Primordial Organic Pulsar. Less timing cooldowns, but your cooldown is more powerful. Probably okay. Nature's Grace. When Eclipse ends or when you enter combat, enter a dream state, reducing the cast time of your next 2 Starfires to Wrath by 40%, increasing their damage by 50%. So leaving Eclipse less painful and getting into the next one much easier. Good. I like that. That's a good change. Humble Embrace. Wrath and Starfire have a 20% chance to cause your next Wrath and Starfire to cast during an eclipse to become astral. Deal a bunch of damage. So basically when you're whatever finisher or whatever hard cast you're spamming during your eclipse, it just has a chance to do RNG more. And gonna entirely depend on the proc rate on that, whether or not that's good. But when you consume it, it increases the damage of your dots and Starfall by 20% for 5 seconds. If that updates dynamically, then this is probably okay. If it's something that you're gonna have to track in order to snapshot stuff, that's bad. Astral Communion is passive now. Basically gives you more Astral Power pool and gives you 12 Astral Power on immediately entering an Eclipse. Sure. Harmony of the Heavens. Star Surge or Starfall increase your current Eclipse's damage bonus by an additional 1% up to 5 times. Okay. Interesting. Now is it tied? Like, is Star Surge to be tied to Arcane, or does it just do both? If it does both, then this is a pretty easy talent to maintain because you're spamming a lot of spenders anyways. Touch of the Cosmos. Casting Wrath in an Eclipse is an 8% chance to make your Star Surge free. Casting Starfire in an Eclipse has a chance to make your next Starfall free. It kind of plays into the fact that Wrath is more of a single target spell. Starfire is more of an AoE spell. Kind of just helps newer players tie those together. That's probably fine. Lunar Shrapnel, which does more Starfall damage, and Ethereal Kindling, which gives your dot duration extension. Swap positions, probably okay. Sundered Firmament, move to a new choice node with Orbit Breaker. You're still probably taking Orbit Breaker. And Denizen of the Dream, move to row 10. Which means they probably cut the talents out from under it. Let's see. Mastery nerfed by 20% down to 4% versus 5%. Probably okay with the way that some of this other stuff works. Waning Twilight is now a 1-point talent at 6%. That's still a buff. Wrath damage buffed. Cool. Ethereal Kindling is now 3 seconds instead of 4. That's probably okay, which means that the total duration probably needs to be dropped to 24 seconds versus 28. Astral Smolder no longer procs from critical strikes, but now it's just a flat 45% trigger. That's actually a buff. Balance of All Things now increases crit chance by 10 to 20%, decreasing by 1 to 2% every second. So is that... Oh, that's when you enter Eclipse. Okay. Probably alright. Celestial Alignment got a little bit of a nerf, but considering that they're trying to make it more powerful, that makes sense. Fury of Loon got a damage buff, but it got reduced astral damage, or astral power generation. Now a magic dispel? What? 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 A magic dispel? What do you mean? Like if someone walks through it with a magic debuff, they just get dispelled? Huh. We'll have to play with that. Charting Incarn got a nerf duration from 30 to 20, again with the changes that they've made to try and... It sounds like they're trying to make Moonkin less about their cooldowns and more just about like a more steady damage profile, which I think is okay. New Moon got a damage buff, but Astral Power generation reduced. That's fine. Orbital Strike damage reduced. Probably okay. Pyro Goldrin damage increased by 8%. You're taking that almost all the time anyways. Shooting Stars got a damage increase. That's good. Starfall damage increase, fine. Soul of the Forest no longer increases Starfire damage. Not sure what to make of that. Still, a Flare got a buff, which means there's a dot playstyle that could be coming back, which I'm not the fan of. Wild Mushroom got a buff, good, and Umbral Intensity, primary target damage increased by 2040. Sure. I think it's fine. Overall, for balance, I think it's very clear they're wanting to pull Balance Druid away from being in Incarn or Celestial Alignment all the time and try to balance out its power generation. I think they've achieved that. I think that if Wild Mushroom is actually good again, then I'm going to be happy because I like Wild Mushroom and AoE. Overall, I think this is obviously has to be played with. I'm sure there's going to be some Balanced Druid experts that will know more than me. On the surface, as someone that plays it kind of casually, I think I kind of like the changes overall. There's a couple I'm not so sure about, a couple I don't feel good about, but on the whole, probably like a slight win. Alright, Feral Druid. Again, we're not going to look at the images because we'll go play with the trees later. New abilities. Coil the Spring. If you generate a combo point in excess of which you can store, so it takes the Druid tier set bonus. Replaces Dire Fixation, which was shit, and it's kind of been shit. So sure, I don't like the current Druid tier set, Feral Druid tier set, so I'm kind of meh on this. Savage Fury. Tiger's Fury increases your haste by 8% and energy recovery rate by 20% for 20 seconds, which replaces Rampant Ferocity, which was the Cleave Ferocious Bite. This is probably okay. And then Resourceful Hunter gives you Leech and Versatility. Depending on where that's at in the tree, that could be really good or really bad. We'll see. Infected Wounds got moved. Taste for Blood has been reworked. Now increases ferocious bite damage by 15% and additional 15% during Tiger's Fury, and moves to Relentless Predator's position. Probably okay. I think that's fine. Adaptive Swarm got a buff. I was kind of hoping bees would go away, but sure. Apex Predator's Craving got a slight nerf in terms of its damage chance. Probably fine. Berserk got a small duration. And then gave all ability damage an increase by 10%. Instead of only Shred and Rake. That's a buff to Berserk. Berserk Frenzy now does increases to bleed damage. Good. Heart of the Lion reduces Incarn Berserk cooldown by a flat 60 seconds. Alright. Not sure what to make of that, but okay. Brutal Slash got a big damage bonus. I kind of hate Brutal Slash, whatever. Feral Frenzy, big damage bonus. Sure. Incarnation Avatar of Ashbane got a 10-second reduction. This is in line with what we saw with Balance. But also does the all attack and ability damage. So I think, generally speaking, a net benefit, a net buff. Predator now increases combo point generators direct damage by 40% of haste. Instead of the Tiger's Fury reset. I'm not sure I like that, actually. We'll see. On the surface, I don't know if I like that. In conjunction with everything else, it probably makes sense. Primal Wrath got a cost increase, but a big old damage increase to go with it, so probably a proper balancing path there. Raging Fury, which gives you Tiger's Fury duration, which basically just flattens it out to 5 additional seconds. Depending on scaling, that could potentially, like with the way they're trying to make haste scaling a little bit different, it sounds like for Feral, this is probably a good balancing technique. Getting Tiger's Fury to last, I think it's a flat now, like 15 seconds or 17 seconds or something like that. It's probably a good thing in the long term. Sabertooth causes Ferocious Bite to deal 15% increased damage, and each combo point spent causes Ferocious Bite primary target to take 3% increased damage from bleed and other dots. So basically, like, it just makes everything, like, it basically just gives you a 4-second damage window where everything else is better. Is that dynamic, or do we need to snapshot it? That's the question that I have. Soul of the Forest took a small energy nerf, but with some new haste scaling packed in with like Savage Fury, I think that's probably a good balance point. Tear Open Wounds, which is bigging AoE, now includes a bonus effect during Incarn Berserk, which means it was consumed up to 6 seconds versus 4 seconds. Good buff to this for AoE. And then Tireless Energy just got a little bit of a tweak to kind of account for the new haste scaling, so good stuff there. I'm not going to look at Restoration Druid just because I'm not sure, really. So, overall, Balance and Feral, I think these changes are pretty okay overall. The class tree, I'm not sure about, honestly. Like, there's probably some new builds that you can play with. Getting Remove Corruption in particular is going to be really nice. I don't know if I like some of the things that they did, though. But we'll see. Alright, let's go play with the Brewmaster tree for a little bit. Now, I'm not going to do Master Harmony. I'm going to pick Shadowpan. And we're just going to assume a single target for now. We'll just max it out because you're going to eventually take everything. So let's look at this class tree. So you get Paralysis is now up here, and you get a baseline, and Rising Sun Kick is baseline. Elusive Mists, good, we could skip that, but we are going to grab Tiger's Lust. Obviously, you want to grab Tiger's Lust, so it's still around. Grace of the Crane can be picked. You get Bounding Agility, which gives you the distance. Calming Presence, 100% you're going to take. Crushing Momentum or Disable. I think you can actually skip both of these because Wind's Reach is whatever. So you're going to come grab Fast Feet. And that opens up potentially grabbing Detox, which, depending on dungeon, you can probably like from a raid scenario, you're probably never taking this, so we could skip it. You could probably skip this for bounding agility as well, so we're going to grab Grace of the Crane. Vivacious Vivification, giving a instant Vivify could potentially be good, but we'll see. We'll kind of just need to play with the points. I do think you probably grab Jade Walk. I think you're going to need the points, so you need one of these. So let's grab Spirit Hand Strike so you can grab Transcendence, and I think you grab Ancient Arts. Yeah, you need the points, so you need one more point to spend. So you're probably just going to, in Rage, you're probably just going to grab Jade Walk. You'll probably grab Chi Wave. Obviously, you want to grab Transcendence. Energy Transfer, you don't really need in Raid. You're only grabbing Spear Hand Strike because you just need the points. You could potentially even grab Pressure Points if you want to go that route, but I think it's like this is at least useful on Trash. This is probably useful on nothing. And then you want to probably going to grab Celerity, because I don't think Chi Torpedo is still going to be all that wonderful. And then let's see. Definitely grab Improved Touch of Death. And skip Tiger Tail Sweep. Probably skip Spirit Essence. I mean, you can go, and you could probably skip Ring of Peace unless you need it for a boss fight. But you grab Resonant Fist because it's just good. Vigorous Expulsion you want to grab because you expel harm a lot as Brewmaster. This is going to entirely depend on dungeon mechanics and stuff, so we'll just temporarily say Yu'lon's Grace. Oh, shit. Okay, so you're going to have to... Son of a bitch. Okay. So we need the talent points anyway, so you're going to go grab Ring of Peace, you'll grab Fort Brew. And then you need 3 more talent points. So that opens up some options here. You can grab Detox just as it's potentially good. Bounding Agility can then become pretty good. Quick-Footed can become good, and that opens up the bottom part of the tree here. Actually, no, you don't grab Quick-Footed. You grab Fort Brew because it's gonna be okay. And I think you grab Iron Shell. You probably don't need Black Ox. Celestial Determination's kind of whatever. You grab Strength of Spirit, it's very good. Save them all, that's for Mistweaver, so you can kind of skip that. I think you take Chi Proficiency. Healing Winds is going to be fight dependent. But I think you grab Bounce Back. That potentially opens up Escape from Reality or Transcendence League Spirits. Again, probably niche usefulness. Fatal Touch you definitely want to grab. Let's see, we have 5 points left. You grab Martial Instincts. 2 points there. I think you take Rushing Reflexes. I don't think you grab Clash. And then we have 2 points to spend. Honestly, I think you grab Lighter Than Air, and then you grab Flow of Chi. And I think that's your 31 points. So I think for Raid, you're going to want to grab this build. Yeah, I think for Raid, this is the build that you go with. In the class tree, at least. But there's definitely some points that you can play with. Like, potential for Ox Statue into Windwalking could be a play here. If you don't think Rushing Reflexes is going to be any good. But, like, I think this is kind of the build that you run with for Raid. For Mythic Plus, we'll get into it in a minute. So obviously Keg Smash, Purifying Brews, Shuffle. Probably don't do Staggering Strikes. You still grab Gifted the Ox. You still grab Spirit of the Ox. we'll see about Quick Sip. We'll see here. I'm not 100% sure on that. Definitely grab Hit Scheme. You probably grab Rushing Jade Wind or Special. It's whatever one's tuned better for Brewmaster, honestly. And then we need one more point, so you grab Quick Sip. You come get Celestial Flames for sure. You definitely grab Celestial Brew. Clash is still here. This probably needs to be tweaked because Clash is now over here as well. So you grab Zenmed. You grab Shadowboxing Treads. You Guy Plins. You still grab Purifying Brew, Improve Celestial Brew, Breath of Fire, Sasala Beam's Strength. Could also potentially go Scalding Brew if you run the Harmony. But Sasala Beams I still think is the best. You skip Determination. You grab Nijao because you don't have any other choice. Pretense of Instability is good. See, I don't know if I think you grab Counter-Strike. And then you grab Charred Passions. High Tolerance is still whatever. Walk with the Ox is still kind of whatever. Elusive Footwork you want to grab. Exploding Keg you want to grab. Bone Desperate you probably are still grabbing right now with Attenuation. And then you're grabbing Weapons of Order into... that's actually probably it. And then you have 3 points left. So this is probably where you grab something like Bob and Weave, Training of Nijao. And you probably throw a point in like High Tolerance. Something like that. That's probably your raid build. Could also grab Storm Southwest Keg, but do like that. I think that's probably okay for raid. Mythic Plus, this class tree is the most interesting one. So Mythic Plus in the class tree, you grab Tiger's Lust, you grab Fast Feet, you grab Detox, grab Calming Presence. I think you could skip Bounding Agility. You grab Grace the Crane, you absolutely grab your thing. I think you grab Pressure Points because of the Enraged spell. And then you grab Ancient Arts to get lower Paralysis cooldown and Leg Sweep cooldown. That's going to be just universally useful. I think you go grab Chi Wave still. You grab Transcendence. You grab Energy Transfer, so more Paralysis, more rolls. And you grab Celerity. Celerity might be a point that we can skip. Let's look. Grab Improved Touch of Death. I think you can skip Tiger Tail Sweep. Spirit Essence you grab. You definitely grab Ring of Peace. You definitely grab Resonant Fists. Yu'lon's Grace and Dance of the Wind, Dampen Harm, like all of that you kind of see. Vigorous Expedition, I think or Expulsion you still grab. Fort Brew you definitely grab. Peace and Prosperity. Potentially. It depends on how often you need Ring of Peace. But we need another point somewhere. Sorry, got a text message from a number I don't know. We will see. Let's just grab Celerity for the purpose of getting down the tree. I think you grab Iron Shell. This is a potential flex point, but you kind of need it to get Martial Instincts and Rushing Reflexes. And this point, I think you could probably skip. Definitely grab Fatal Touch. Bounce Back will be good. Strength of Spirit, 100%. And then these two talents you're going to grab. Let's see what I got. I got 1 point left. So you could probably grab Rushing Reflexes. You could potentially get Black Ox Statue depending on need. You could grab Peace and Prosperity if you need more. Like on Sanguine Weeks, this might be okay. We'll just grab Black Ox for now. The Mythic Plus, I don't think your build changes a ton. You grab all of this. Rushing Jade Wind, not Healing Elixir. Grab that. You go down this part of the tree. Like none of that changes. You still grab all of these for some ungodly reason. Still grab Dave. Still get this so you can get Shadowboxing Treads and Counter-Strike. Pretense of Instability. Galplins is still very good, so you can go grab Chanting of Najau. Then here you grab Charred Passions. You still probably grab Celestial Brew with Attenuation, Elusive Footwork into all of this. And then you still grab Weapons of Order. You have 1 point left, so you probably grab a Face Palm. You can put a point in High Tolerance. Probably just say High Tolerance, right? Yeah, something like that. So I think that's what you're kind of doing for Brewmaster. Let's go fuck with some Windwalker, huh? I think you probably do Conduit of the Celestials typically. See, with the Rushing Jadewind change, I almost wonder if this is going to be better or not. We'll see. I'll grab this for now. We'll see. See, now this actually makes Inner Compass makes more sense. Like with these changes, like Condo of the Celestials might actually be good. All right, let's look at Windwalker for raid. So obviously you're gonna grab Tiger's Lust, you're gonna grab Fast Feet, you'll grab Grace to the Crane, you grab Calming Presence, you're definitely gonna grab Ancient Arts. Probably want to grab, obviously grab Spear and Strike because you need something, and now we need a point somewhere. Potentially Bounding Agility. We're thinking in raid fights, right? So Jade Walk doesn't help. Grab Transcendence. I think you grab Chi Wave. It's basically free. You grab Celerity. You grab... I think you can skip Energy Transfer here. You definitely grab Improved Touch of Death. Don't need this. You can skip that. Probably grabbing Ring of Peace just so you can grab Iron Fort Brew and Diffuse. Expel Harm you grab because you do use it a lot. Let's see, we need 4 points. Shit. Okay. We'll grab Resonant Fist, so 3 points. Grab that just for like potential off healing on yourself. Detox for utility. We need 1 more point. Again, these are things like you probably aren't using a ton of, but they're like nice to haves. I'd say just PC Prosperity, right? You grab White Tiger Statue. Probably grab Strength of Spirit into Chi Proficiency. Lighter than Air just sounds cool, and Flow of Chi is going to be good. So you could actually potentially, you definitely want to grab Bounce Back. Iron Shell into Martial Instincts. You could potentially grab a point, or you want to grab Fatal Touch. I think this is going to be your build for Raid. For Mythic Plus, you're going to grab Energy Transfer. You might grab Pressure Points over Vivification. Or like Peace and Prosperity, you can trade out for Energy Transfer. I think other than that, though, you pretty much run the same build. And here you grab... Oh, so this is how you get your third one. That's easy enough. See, I think you potentially skip Ascension and grab Dual Threat. And then grab this. Flying Serpent Kick is always good. You grab Mark of the Crane, Glory of the Dawn. This is where it starts to get interesting. So you skip Jade Ignition. I don't think you died. Tiger, you absolutely grab Teachings of the Monastery. 100% grab SCF. Grab Hit Combo. I think you can skip Meridian Strike. So you absolutely grab Strike of the Windlord. You grab Thunderfist. You grab Rushing Jade Wind. Grab Juen. Courageous Impulse you grab so you can come grab Dance of Chi-Ji. which you may or may not get depending on what goes on. Energy Burst giving you free chi generation is probably a good thing. Let's see, I need 2 more talent points to spend. Grab Ordered Elements. I mean, do you go grab Brawler's Intensity? I think you do. Either that or Dance of Chi-Ji. It kind of depends on tuning, I guess. We'll do Brawler's Intensity for now. Because, like, this just feels like AoE. Which, I mean, I'm not going to do Last Emperor's Capacitor. Like, you can do Rising Star, Invoker's Delight for sure. Definitely Gale Force and Communion with Wind. Single target, I think you do grab this. You definitely grab Transfer the Power. You may not have enough points to get everything you want. Because, like, I got 2 points left, and, like, Jadefire Harmony is going to be good. Singularity Focus Jade would be good for pure single target. So, like, you could grab those 2. You could grab Whirling Dragon Punch into Revolving Whirl. You can grab Sky Touch. Like, there's some choices here. We're not even getting Shadowboxing Treads. Dude, there's some actual talent choices here. I like this. I'm going to grab Whirling Dragon Punch into Knowledge of Broken Temple. Actually, I think over Whirling Dragon Punch you only grab if you're going to grab this. I kind of don't want to lose out on Singularity Focus Jade into Sky Touch. Because of crit scaling. I think that's kind of like your single target. And then for AoE, like I said, basically you're playing the same. But over here for AoE, I think there's some interesting choices. You could probably skip like Dual Threat and grab Ascension. Hardened Souls, you grab all 3 of these, of course. And I think this is where we start to get some interesting choices. Obviously, you grab Storm, Earth, and Fire. I think you grab Shadowboxing Treads. I think you grab that. We need 1 of these. You grab Hit Combo into all of these. 100% grab all of these. Definitely grab Dance of Chi-Ji. Let's see, I need, what, 1 more point to spend somewhere? Hey, this is where you could potentially get, like, Dual Threat. Give you that haste scaling still. Get that last point, but you could grab Energy Burst for free resources. And I think you can get Sequence Strikes into Whirling Dragon Punch into Revolving Whirl. Grab Invokers into Zhuen's Battle Gear. Transfer the Power for sure. You grab Gale Force. And Communion with Wind. That's 2 points left to spend. You got Fury of Zhuen, and I think this is kind of what you do for. You can potentially do Crane Vortex, Rising Stars there potentially as well. Like there's some real choices here, and that's really interesting. Really like that. All right, let's play with a Conduit of the Celestials Mistweaver. So Mistweaver, you get you could potentially just not do Soothing Mist at all. I still think you probably take it. You grab Tiger's Lust, you grab Fast Feet. Improved Detox, Calming Presence, Grace of the Crane. Vivacious Vivification is still really good. I think you grab Pressure Points, you grab your Interrupts, you can grab Transcendence, you get Celerity. Probably don't need this. Maybe, we'll see. Definitely grab this. It's just free damage. You grab Ring. Parade. And Parade, you could probably even skip this, but you kind of need it to get over here. Or, yeah, you kind of need it to get over here. Like this, you would skip for Raid and Mythic Plus, but you grab Fort Brew. You grab Diffuse, you grab Vigorous. Well, maybe not Vigorous. Potentially. Let's see what else we can play with. Oh, you grab Chi Wave because it's just easy and free. You need 3 more points. Guess you grab Bounding Agility. Elusive Mist may not actually be bad for the time that you do channel Soothing Mist, because you're probably going to use it very sparingly. I think you just grab Vigorous Expulsion. You can skip Statue, you grab Iron Shell Bruce, so you get Martial Instincts. Grab Bounce Back. Definitely grab Save Them All into Chi Proficiency, into Flow of Chi. I think you grab Strength of Spirit. And then from here, like your last 2 points, you can kind of throw wherever you need to. Like you probably put them into Fatal Touch. And then depending on how good Statue is. But I'd probably grab Lighter Than Air for the mobility. Because I just don't see Statue being all that good anymore. Alright, Enveloping Mist, Thunder Focus Tea, Renewing Mist, Life Cocoon, Mana Tea, and Healing Elixir. You grab all of those in all scenarios. Grab Crane Style. You're definitely going to grab Revival. Grab Invigorating Mists. For Raid, I think you can skip Zen Pulse. Potentially. Even Teachings of the Monastery you could potentially skip. Let's see. And then you probably do Common Coalescence. Life Cycles, because it's still good. Yu'lon for raid builds. Still gonna grab Celestial Harmony. Still grab Mistwrap. Definitely grab Yu'lon's Whisper. Grab this so you can get Chrysalis. Let's see, we need 3 more points. Grab 2 there. You go Shao Lessons. Still gonna grab Rising Mist. That's the key to this whole fucking thing. Still grab Gift of the Celestials. So this is where it starts to get interesting. Because like a Yu'lon like Clouded Focus Rant build, like all of a sudden does like you gotta grab Jade Fire so you can grab Ancient Teachings, I think. And I think that's the build that you run. Potentially. And then in Mythic Plus, you run mostly the same build. If you grab Teachings, I think you grab Life Cycles. I think you do get Zen Pulse here. Grab TG, Celestial Harmony. You might actually be in a place where you can skip Mistwrap. So you need 2 more points. You can grab Common Coalescence. Grab Sheelan's, Shao and Legacy of Wisdom. Rising Mist, for sure. Gift of the Celestials, for sure. You definitely grab Jadefire so you can get Ancient Teachings. Grab Ancient Concordance. Grab that. So like, this is where you start to see some potential play in your builds. Like, I think this is the big one, and then you spend what? Maybe your point in... Oh, Invigorating Mist. You need that. I think that's what you run. Interesting. Okay. Lots of stuff going on. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at some of the other stuff that's going on with this, and then I'm probably going to cut stream off for the night. So that I can start cutting these videos together. Alright, so account-wide leveling rewards in the War Within new bank toy and extra experience gains. So basically when you reach level 80 with one character, the experience of all other characters are increased by 5%. For other achievements in the same branch, like you reward another 5% experience acceptance. So basically, the more characters you level, the more experience you get, the faster you go through the story. Excellent. I love this. You don't need to wait till War Within to enjoy some of the new account-wide bonuses. Achievements for reaching max level with 2 characters now reward you with a toy that allows you to open your Warband bank anywhere. Cool. Easy enough. I'm going to be definitely doing that. I like this. Anything that makes things more account-wide. This, I love the experience increases. Like, leveling second, third, fourth, fifth characters should make everything exponentially easier for the next character after that. 100% agree with that take. So, really love that. That's a very, very good change. We're just going to rapid fire some of these. Haranir race customizations. Possible allied race. Huh. Okay. I get it. This is an interesting interesting race. Interesting group of people. I'm curious to learn more about them, that's for sure. Kind of like a troll elf hybrid. Is that what I'm seeing? Troll elf hybrid. Be curious to see. Are they going to be neutral like Pandaren, where you can pick one on either side, like Pandaren and Drakthir? Bring to that. Very cool. I'm curious to learn more about this race. They got me intrigued. Drakthir class restriction removed likely early in the War Within. And stay in visage form during combat. I don't care about that, but sure. Yeah, there's a Drakthir that wears leather. I like this for the warband stuff. Like, that's gonna be so cool. That's cool. I think the Drakthir are kind of whatever, but you know, I know there are people that really like them, so cool. All right, let's look at some transmog, right? All right, let's look at Death Knight. Now, you guys know I love me some Death Knight. Kind of struggling with it, so let's look at this. This is all on a human, of course. I'm imagining this is the LFR set. A blue and gray variation. So I'm not gonna lie, I've been disappointed by the way the Death Knight sets have looked this entire expansion, and this kind of just continues that. Like, I'm not high on this, honestly. Oh wait, I wasn't even close to being done. Okay. It's probably the mythic one, and this is probably PvP. Yeah, whatever. I'm not the biggest fan. But let's go look at the Evoker. Hey, yo. Yo. Hey, yo. Yo, this is good. I like this. Definitely gonna make me be in Visage form. This is cool, dude. Well done. I like this. That's good. Really, really like the color scheming on him is really cool. The flames for shoulders is really cool. Big fan of this red one, but kind of representing Dragonflight here. You got like your bronze, your red, your green, blue, black. You're getting your Dragonflight's representative here. It's a Deathwing cosplay for sure, but I like it. Well done. Shoutouts to whoever made the Evoker tier set. I like it. Alright, Monk tier set. Obviously, this is going to look very different on a human versus what it does on a panda. Whoops. Alright, let's pull this out here. Obviously, I'm going to imagine this on a panda. I don't like the shoulders and helm, at least on that look. Let's see. Actually, on a panda with the broader shoulders and the bigger head, it might actually look pretty good. Oh, give me the purple. Yo, give me the purple. That's what, heroic? Yo, give me that purple one. This one here. Yo, dog, I love this one. Give me that. Not a bad set. Not my favorite, I don't think. Definitely the Season 2 Dragonflight one I really like. But yo, give me that purple, though. I need to know what that is. Alright, Hunter tier sets. Hunters, they've really stepped up their male ones lately. Let's see. Of course, they have the animal head. It's tradition for hunters at this point. This isn't bad. I like the one shoulder here. Where they have the, almost like an elephant skull. This blue one's not bad at all, actually. Oh, the purple. Purple's the best, man. This red one's not bad either. Actually, like, this looks good in multiple colors. Like, purple, red, green. All look pretty good to me. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. I like it. I'd go grab it on my hunter. I'd probably want to see whichever the purple one is. I'd go snatch that if I could. Alright, warrior tier sets. Warrior tier sets are very, very hit and miss in my opinion. Let's find out what we're working with. What in the fuck are these shoulders? What is this nonsense? Okay, that one's not bad. It's not going to look good on Worgen. Sorry, Fyrus. It's my brother. That's actually not bad. Yeah, the green's pretty cool. Yeah, I get a feeling these purple are probably going to be the mythic set, because I like that. Like, here the horn has, like, detailing on it, and it's freaking cool, whereas, like, here you can barely see it. Like, in some of these other ones, you can't really see the detail. Like, that one, you can't really see the details on the horns. You can't see them there. Can't see them there. Like, but this purple one here, like, this one here really stands out quite nicely. I don't think this is their best effort on this one. And let's round it off with some druid, huh? Is on a night elf. Or on Hyradir, which signifies they're going to be able to be druids. You know what? From a design aspect, I'm very curious to see what it looks like on a Kul Tiran. But I'm kind of in on the shoulders. I'm very in on the shoulders, in fact. The helm is... fuck off. Get out of here. But I'm really loving the way that these shoulders look in particular. And the claws on the gloves. Alright, alright, I fuck with the blue. I kind of fuck with the red, too. I imagine this is the mythic because of the way the shoulders glow. I like this druid set, actually. I kind of really like this druid set. Like, the understated helmet, I think, does wonders for it. Like, it's like just like a face piece with the mohawk on it. Like, it might actually look really good on Kul Tiran as well. Like, that is very cool. I kind of fuck with that. All right, let me look at Warrior before I log off for the night and go to bed. So this is for my brother Fyrus. If he's watching, shout outs, buddy. All right, the Warrior tree is completely shuffled around. Whatever, it's great. So Berserker Rage now baseline again. Great. Blood and Thunder is no longer available to Fury. Okay. But still arms and prot. Okay. Defensive Stance is now a free talent for all warriors. Good. Furious Blows, which gives you auto attack speed, is removed. Interesting. Sonic Boom, which made Shockwave more powerful, and crit all the time, is gone. Probably okay. Titanic Throw, gone. As a pull tool for warriors, that's kind of sad, actually, for Prot Warrior in particular. I think Titanic Throw was good for like pulling around the corner and throwing at the tides, for example. So yeah, kind of sad. Barbaric Training for arms no longer increases rage cost, damage bonus reduced to 20%, and now increases critical strike damage by 10%. It's probably a good balancing tool. Not impacting the rage economy is probably good. And Barbaric Training now affects Thunderclap for Mountain Thane hero specialization, so obviously you'd have to pick Mountain Thane for that to happen. Crackling Thunder also, let's see, reduces movement speed, increased radius, and now increases damage by 10%. It's a good buff to that talent. Champion Spear, which is the old Spear of Bastion, generates a little less rage. Probably okay. Endurance Training is now 2 points, but gives you 10% stamina. We'll see. And then Frothing Berserker basically have a chance to reduce rage. It's now down to 10% from 20%. Probably okay. And then cut in half for Prot. So probably sounds like they're trying to slow down their rage economy because they were always flooded with resources. It sounds like they were. I haven't played Fury or Warrior since Season 2, and even in Season 2, I was kind of flooded with rage to where I couldn't spend it fast enough, and it felt kind of bad. And a lot of it had to do with these rage refund mechanics, so the fact that they're reducing the impact of those is probably okay. It'll feel bad a little bit early on as we readjust our scaling, stat scaling, but once you start getting that haste back up and things like that, I think it's going to be fine. Reinforced Plates reducing armor down to 10% from 20%. It's probably all right. Not a big deal. You're still going to take it because you get strength based off of your armor, so fine. Seismic Reverberation now affects Thunderclap for Mountain Thane hero specializations. Cool. So you basically get just double hits, so you Thunderclap and do it again. Shockwave no longer generating rage. It's probably all right because it's now much more accessible in the tree. So it's just dealing damage and stunning. That's fine. Storm of Destruction is a PvP talent, so I don't care. Thunderous Roar no longer generating rage. Probably okay. So yeah, it sounds like they're really trying to balance rage generation, but then are also adjusting rage costs as a result. So Thunderclap, rage cost reduced from 30 to 20. That's good. Thunderous Words now increases all bleeding damage by 30%, while only Thunderous Roar's bleed is active. What? Increases all bleeding damage by 30% versus 15. Oh, so basically it makes your bleeds more powerful while Thunderous Roar's bleed is active, but outside of that, like Deep Wounds and Rend and stuff like that are going to be less impactful. That's probably an okay rebalancing. Warlord's Torment is no longer proccing off Colossus Smash, but gets a 2-second longer duration. I don't know about that. And then Warwood's getting a rage cost reduction. So overall, I think... where did they move Shockwave in the tree? Let's find out. It's still the way the... Oh, wait. No. Shockwave is... right here now. Very, very accessible. I actually like some of the changes they made here, too, on this tree, just glancing at it. That's, I think it's pretty good, actually. All right, let's look at Arms. So Arms gets a couple of new talents. Finishing Blows. Overpower generates 8 rage when used on enemies below 35% health. Hey, guess what they're doing with Arms? They're making it the best execute in the game again. Fantastic. Replacing Improved Slam. Probably all right. Ravagers now in the class tree. Sounds like it's in the spec tree. Sorry, this is spec tree. Now a choice node with Bladestorm, so you can grab Bladestorm or Ravager. Okay. So basically whatever does more damage is what you're going to get it with. That's probably the choice there. Move talent. So collateral damage, basically which made your Whirlwind do more damage based on sweeping strikes windows. Replace the strength of arms in the choice node with improved sweeping strike. That's probably okay. So now it's making like your sweeping strikes. Do you get longer sweeping strikes, or do you get the post sweeping strikes power generation? I kind of like that. And then strength of arms being an overpowered choice node with Dreadnought being an overpowered choice node. Interesting choice. I don't know if I like this or not, but I think it's fine, honestly. Reaping swings, cooldown of cleave reduced by 3 seconds removed. Tide of blood was removed. The effect is baked into Skull Splitter. Good. I think that's good. Then pathing changed at the bottom of the arms tree. We'll look at that in a little bit. Class talent tuning. Anger Banishment now affects Ravager as well as Bladestorm and Colossus Smash. Good. Battlelord no longer generates rage. Okay. Yeah, because it's now with finishing blows, so that makes sense. Dance of Death now applies to Ravager as well as Blade. It just makes sense. Deft Experience, which means you got increased mastery and increased tactician trigger. Just got slight tweaks. Small nerf, no big deal. Dreadnought no longer grants overpower second charge. That was improved to improved overpower. And improved overpower now gets the second charge with, yeah. So, I mean, depending on the locations, I don't remember off the top of my head. We're fine. Infinite Kill now matches the duration of Colossus Smash Warbreaker. Great. That is, like, wonderful. Hurricane, which basically while you were Bladestorming, you gain movement speed and strength. Now affecting Ravager. That's good. Merciless Bone Grinder working with Ravager is fine. Rend got a cost reduction. Again, they're trying to reduce the amount of rage that you generate, so they have to reduce the amount of rage that you're spending to keep the balance. Skull Splitter now causes Rend and Deep Wounds to bleed out 100% faster for 10 seconds, which was the baseline of Tide for Blood. That's good. I don't know how much Skull Splitter is going to find its way into the rotation. Probably be good early on because of the rage generation. But maybe as you get into later stat scaling, it won't be as much. Stormer Sword is reworked to grant a 30% chance to make your next Whirlwind cost no rage. I actually like that a lot more, actually. Because, again, they're adjusting the rage economy of the spec, it sounds like. So, obviously, you'll need some sort of proc, probably an audio cue if you can get it. Let you know you got that free Whirlwind, because it's always going to be useful to take, especially in AoE. Strength of Arms now just does critical strike chance and critical strike damage to enemies below 35% health. Because that effect moved. Tactician was reduced because, again, they're adjusting the rage economy. So you have to make this reduced. Makes sense. It's a balancing act. Unhinged, cast 1 Mortal Strike during Ravager, 2 during Bladestorm. Technically it already did this, but Arms didn't have access to Ravager. Fair. Okay. And then Valor and Victory was increased to 2% versatility, up from 1%. Good change. Overall, it sounds like definitely they're doing what they can to adjust the rage economy of Arms. They didn't do anything to affect gameplay, which is, I think, the biggest problem with Arms right now, is it's basically been playing the same for as long as I've been alive, and I've been on this for 36 years. Like, I know the game isn't that old, but whatever. Like, that's the big problem with Arms now. So, like, a few quality of life changes. Ravager instead of Bladestorm is a potential nice little change, but for the most part, it doesn't really change the problems that I have with Arms Warrior. Like, you just kind of get it. Like, whatever. Alright, Fury. New talent. Powerful in Rage. Enrage increases the damage of your abilities deal by an additional 15%, and in duration increased by 1 second. It's now a choice node with improved Enrage, which gives you haste and movement speed. You're probably going to take Powerful Enrage almost all the time because, like, it just makes your haste scaling a lot better. So probably okay to take Powerful Enrage. Bladestorm now in the talent tree. We knew this was coming because of Mountain Thane, so I'm not surprised by that. Let's see, where is it at? Shares a choice node with Ravager over here. Bladestorm being part of, I think it's Slayer tree, going to make Bladestorm build mandatory. With Mountain Thane, maybe not so much. So cool. Move talents: improved Raging Balloon, Cruelty swap places. Sure. Meat Cleaver, improved Whirlwind, and Wrath of Fury shuffled around on the row over there. That's fine. Odin's Fury and the Dancing Blade Satanic Node move to the left branch besides Deft Experience, so it's over here versus being here. That's probably okay. Anger Management of Reckless Choice, Abandoned Choice Node, and Unbridled Ferocity, Depths of Insanity move left of center. So they just took it and like they moved this over here and then shifted this over. That's fine. Not a big deal. Annihilator gone. Thank you. I hate Annihilator. Frenzied Flurry gone. So they basically... Did they just basically take out Single-Minded Fury and shot it with a gun? Please say they did. Good. Screw SMF. Raging Armament's gone with Raging Below gaining an extra charge. That's probably sad. Storm of Swords being gone for Fury's probably okay. In fact, I know it's okay. I'm pretty okay with that. Anger Management now affecting Bladestorm makes sense. Deft Experience now increases Bloodthirst's chance to trigger Enrage by 2-4%. Please reduce the cooldown of Bloodthirst. I kind of like that, actually. Good change. Improved Enrage now named to Frenzied Enrage. Makes sense. Single-Minded Fury now increases auto attack damage with one-handed weapons by 30%, and auto attack crits have a 50% chance to enrage, in addition to its previous effects. So they didn't kill Single-Minded Fury. Fuck. They just baked it into the talent. Fuck. Storm of Steel now afflicts Bladestorm, sure. But bonus to rage generation reduced to +10 versus +20. That's probably okay. Tenderize no longer increases in rage duration, probably because you're able to get it through Powerful Enrage. And Wrath and Fury tooltip clarified to increase Raging Blow's chance to reset by an additional 10%. So no functional change. And then Rend just got a rage cost reduction for prod. So overall for Arms and Fury, they didn't do anything to actually fundamentally alter the gameplay style. The hero talents are going to kind of play in a little bit of that, which is, I think, okay. I think they're being soft with the changes right now. But I don't think they went far enough with Warrior here. I think they needed to do more with Warrior in order to make it feel functionally better. I mean, I don't know if there's going to be anything in the talent tree. Let me just start with Arms, and we'll do Slayer, because Slayer is badass. A single target, you're going to definitely take that. We're just going to do Slayer, because I think Slayer is the best tree. So kind of looking at it now, like, really interesting, like, potential choices here. Like, in single target, like, you're probably, like, I don't know, like, you're probably, like, you taking War Machine just because of the rage generation. You're definitely grabbing that. Impending Victory is still good. Heroic Leap is still good. Stormbolt and Rage you can probably skip. But you need something to get to Thunderclap, so you take Leeching Strikes. Looks like you're on YouTube watching a musician that can do it. Intimidating Shouts near Coffinish Roar, so you can skip that. Frothing Berserker's good. Bounding Stride you probably don't need. Pain and Gain for sure. Definitely grab this. See, in pure single targets, you probably don't need Blood and Thunder, like just like you don't need Shockwave, but you grab Rally, you grab Spell Reflection, grabbed Honed Reflexes. I think you grab Crushing Force for pure single target. You probably grab our Sidearm still. Double Time just so that you can get the two-handed weapon specialization. Reinforced Plates for sure. I wonder if you actually take Overwhelming Rage because you need the points there. But I almost wonder if you can grab Bitter Immunity now. And then you need one more point somewhere, so you grab what, like Seismic Reverberation for raid, like maybe you grab Intervene, maybe you grab Second Wind. Definitely grab weapon specialization.
YouTube Premium is ad-free YouTube and the YouTube Music app all together.
And grab Blade Master's Torment. And then the question becomes is I think you grab Armor to the Teeth. So we have 4 points left to spend.
YouTube Premium.
Cruel Strikes. I think this is going to be a damage tuning thing. Which one do you grab? And then the subsequent talents. You're probably grabbing like Spear into Champion's Might, or you grab Thunderous Roar into probably Uproar. I think that's probably your single target play. And then in AoE, you probably grab Spear into Piercing Challenge. And you could even potentially even skip these 2 points and grab Endurance Training. Or if you're doing well with Haste, you can skip Wild Strikes and grab Endurance Training to get down this. But I think this is kind of your single target build. And then in AoE, you grab... You probably skip out on Bitter Immunity. Potentially skip out on Sidearms. So that's, what, 2 points saved to grab Blood and Thunder and Stormbolt. Yeah, you need that, unfortunately. Like, there's some talent points that you can play with there to grab things like Shockwave, which I think are going to be very big for Mythic Plus. And then here, single target, you definitely grabbing all of these to start. Grab Blood Surge. So I think for Raid, you grab Fueled by Violence because you just get that trickling effect. You absolutely grab Sudden Death if you're playing Slayer particularly. You grab Impale, you grab Colossal Smash, you grab Tactician. You grab Rend. You grab probably just, this is just going to be what, whatever works, but probably going to still be Anger Management. Exhilarating Blows is going to be good. Skip all this for single target and grab Massacre. You're going to grab Blunt Instruments and probably like Test of Might. Or you grab in for the kill, whichever one's better in single target. And you probably grab Strength of Arms. Either grab Strength of Arms. Let's see, you need 2 more points. So you probably grab Bloodborne at that point. And then you grab Valor and Victory. But then you definitely grab all of this. Probably go something along those lines, and then for your last point, you just throw it kind of wherever you think you're going to need it. You can grab Finishing Blows to keep the rage generation going up. You can grab Ignore Pain if you feel like you need the defensive. You grab Improved Overpower, potentially, just to keep the flow of your Mortal Strike buffing going. Like, this is probably your single target build, and then for AoE, you just... Whoops. You just switch out for Bladestorm or Ravager, whichever's tuned to be better. And then you probably grab...
And the YouTube Music app all together. One subscription, 2 apps. Try 1 month free.
Probably just grab Hurricane, right? It's probably what you do. And then you can probably pull something out of here. So you come out of here so you can grab like collateral damage into Storm of Swords. Like, I think that's probably just the changes you make for AoE. So. And then for Fury, keeping with the Slayer theme because Slayer kicks ass. For Raid, So you can grab the armor, which means you can come down here and grab armor to the teeth. Honestly, you might want to come grab Berserker Shout. Well, you definitely grab Sidearm. But like here, you got some interesting choices as Fury, because like you can come up and grab Second Wind if you want. You need 3 points. So you just grab Crushing Force. I don't know if you're going to use Slam or not. Like this. Or do you go like Second Wind into Intervene into Bitter Immunity? And then you grab Dual Wield Specialization. Wild Strikes versus Endurance Training, you just kind of grab whichever one you're going to need. And then probably just grab Berserker's Torment. And then this, again, it's just going to be a matter of which one do you need more. I think you grab Armor to the Teeth no matter what, and you grab Cruel Strikes no matter what, and then it's just a tuning thing. So again, Thunderous Roar into Uproar, or Champion's Spear into Champion's Might, I think is what you're going to want to see there. And then for AoE, you're probably trading out a point in Intervene to grab Stormbolt. Potentially switching out like Second Wind into Intimidating Shout, which gives you more CC options. Potentially grabbing Rumbling Earth as well, so you can pull a point out of like Bounding Stride. Pull a point out of Sidearm. Potentially. So, and then for AoE, I think early on you probably take Frenzied, and then once you start getting some haste scaling going, you switch to Powerful. I think that's the play that you make. And then this is going to kind of entirely depend on tuning, but Warpaint's still probably going to be the best. Fresh Meat will be good in AoE. Probably good in single target too, because you're always getting a chance to do Enrage, whereas here you just get a damage boost. Grab Sudden Death for sure. Cruelty probably not going to be a thing. But you get Improved Raging Blow because it's just going to help you grab Ashen Juggernaut in single target. Of course, you grab Rampage. You grab Focus and Chaos, which is going to be very, very good. And it's going to kind of determine, like, if crit is a big thing for Warrior, then we're looking at that for sure. And then like this is interesting because you can grab like on single target. Frenzy's going to be good into Recklessness. Or like if Cold Steel Hot Blood is good, then you grab that, and then you're going to go into like a bleed build. But if not, you can grab like Vicious Contempt into Ashen Juggernaut. If the Raging Blow build is go, you'd probably grab that. And a Massacre. Let's see, we need 3 points still. So I almost wonder if you'd grab like Hack and Slash, Slaughtering Strikes into a Wrath and Fury versus something like Blood Craze. But then you miss Deft Experience. Is that something that you want to do? Obviously, you grab Swift Strikes. Onslaught's going to be a tuning thing. Anger Management into Depths of Insanity, probably. I got 6 points left to spend. Like, do you come over here and grab, like, you have Blade Storm here, so you can grab that into Hurricane. So that gives you 2 points to spend somewhere, so that's for something like maybe an Onslaught there. You grab Unbridled Ferocity into Blood Craze. Or do you come get Improved Bloodthirst? Did you grab Invigorating Fury? Like, there's options here. Or you go grab Cruelty. like just a flat damage boost. And then for AoE, I think you still grab this for now until you figure out your scaling. Like this changes if you hit a different target, so it's no longer useful. So slaughtering strikes could be good. Into massacre, you could potentially get meat cleaver to go big on that front. I say we grab it. We grab Wrath and Fury. We need 2 more points. It's probably just gonna be Vicious Contempt. Again, we go here. Like, I honestly believe this probably is going to be your best bet. And then you have, like, a point to throw somewhere. Like Cold Steel Hot Blood, if it's valuable. Like, that's kind of what you're looking at potentially for Fury. Like, I don't know the tree that well. Like, a lot of it's going to depend on tuning and tier bonuses and stuff like that. So, we'll see. I don't think they did enough with Arms and Fury to kind of change up their playstyles in ways that are meaningful enough to make players excited again. Some things they did with Intimidating Shout and Shockwave now being much more accessible, Berserker Rage being back in the mix as a fear breaker on certain bosses is going to be really nice. But I think they didn't go far enough, and I think they needed to go further with Warrior in order to make it happen. But at least initially, I think they have they're rebuilding like a decent foundation. Now they just need to be a little bit more bold with Warriors. So but yeah, that's kind of what I feel like for Warrior. Like, definitely room to grow, but I think there's room still to do more. And I hope that they will look into doing that. So, but I'm going to go ahead and end stream there tonight. We did 3.5 hours of looking over all the information. All of this stuff is going to get cut and pasted into YouTube videos over the next few days. So be on the lookout for that. In fact, I'm going to do that here very shortly with the Dragonflight Dungeons because I want to get that one out of the way. Tomorrow I'm probably going to record the rest of my Season 4 Dungeon Transcendence tech, and then we're going to keep diving into some more monk shit. Go from there. So until the next video, I hope